Chapter 1458. Other than the three people from before and Tang Ao, the last alchemist who refined the best gray vitality augmenting pill was in front of Tang Ao on his right. It was said that this person was the head alchemist of the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion, and he was called Lu Yuan. Though Tang Ao did not have a good impression of the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion, Tang Ao could still tell that this alchemist was still relatively impressive among 9-star alchemists. Although in the previous round of the competition, this alchemist named Lu Yuan had only refined an 8-star elixir. Now that he was refining a supreme grade essence augmenting pill, Tang Ao saw that his movements were as smooth as flowing water. Obviously, he was an alchemist who frequently refined supreme grade or high grade essence augmenting pills. On the Flying Star continent, alchemists could be further divided into two categories. One was an alchemist who refined all kinds of pills, and the other was an alchemist who refined vitality-cultivating pills. If it was in the Black-Yellow continent or any other place, it would be unimaginable for an alchemist to only focus on one type of elixir. But on the Flying Star continent, it did exist. Since spiritual stones did not exist on the Flying Star continent, the Vitality Enhancement Pill was the only substitute for spiritual stones. Therefore, there were some alchemists who had a high success rate in concocting the essence-cultivating pill. If they were more talented, they would choose to specialize in concocting the essence-cultivating pill. Though this alchemist, called Lu Yuan, was already a 9-star alchemist, it was very obvious that he was an alchemist that specialized in studying the origin-nurturing pill. Thus, in the second round of the competition, as a 9-star alchemist, he could only refine an 8-star alchemical pill. As for Zhu Yi and Gong Yangjiu, although the elixirs they had refined in the second round were not as outstanding as Tang Ao's Chongyang elixir, they were still relatively good elixirs among the 9-star elixirs. Compared to other elixirs, a strategic elixir like the Vitality Nourishing Elixir was undoubtedly the one that attracted the most attention. In the previous two rounds of the alchemy competition, although there were many martial artists watching from below the alchemy platform, when it came to this round, the alchemy platform was truly overcrowded. This was because the essence-cultivating elixir was an important resource for cultivators. Not everyone could absorb and refine the essence-cultivating elixir limitlessly like Tang Ao. However, in the process of a martial artist cultivation, the essence-cultivating pill could indeed speed up the martial artist cultivation progress to the greatest extent. Moreover, the vitality augmenting pill was not only an enhancement pill, but also a recovery pill. After a large battle, a cultivator's essence would be greatly depleted. At this time, an essence-nurturing pill could allow a cultivator to quickly replenish their exhausted essence. This was extremely advantageous in a beast tide or a chaotic battle between a few major forces. The opponent had already exhausted his essence energy, but you were able to quickly recover your essence energy because of the essence-nurturing pill, allowing you to kill your opponent. It was the same in the beast tide. When the beast tide broke out, there would be an endless number of demonic beasts. Without the vitality-nourishing pill to replenish the yuan qi consumed, not to mention killing many demonic beasts in the beast tide, it was uncertain whether they could escape the beast tide alive. Therefore, many people did not even blink when they saw the 100 alchemists refining the vitality-cultivating pills on the alchemy stage. Among the spectators below the stage, most of them were more focused on Tang Ao and the other 4 alchemists refining the supreme grade essence cultivating pills. However, some older martial artists did not look at Tang Ao and the others. Instead, they were searching among the crowd for alchemists refining the high-grade and medium-grade essence cultivating pills. At their age, they already understood that the supreme-grade essence cultivating pill was too popular and too difficult to refine. Chapter 1459. Tang Ao's soul remembrance completely enveloped the Black Rock Pill Furnace. Although many people said that concocting the Heavy Yang Pill was even more difficult than concocting the Supreme Grade Raising Yuan Pill, Tang Ao clearly had no problem concocting the Supreme Grade Raising Yuan Pill after concocting the Heavy Yang Pill. To this, Tang Ao agreed. However, That was on the basis of the original supreme grade raising yuan pill. The original supreme grade raising yuan pill, perhaps to reduce the difficulty of concocting, added 3 types of medicinal conflicting spirit herbs. After adding these 3 spirit herbs, the supreme grade raising yuan pill couldn't display its effects. The spirit herbs used to concoct the supreme grade raising yuan pill were 100 times more expensive than the spirit herbs used to concoct the upper grade raising yuan pill. However, the supreme grade raising yuan pill concocted according to the original raising yuan pill's pill recipe could only display effects that were a few times greater than the upper grade raising yuan pill. Yet, despite this, the supreme grade raising yuan pill was still sought after by various large factions. Moreover, Tang Ao had to admit that when breaking through realms, the supreme grade raising yuan pill was indeed much more useful than the upper grade raising yuan pill. Feeling the changes in the various spirit herbs in the pill furnace, Tang Ao also covered the 100-flower fruit with his sole remembrance. According to the Shennong Emperor's pill concoction inheritance and Tang Ao's long period of pill concoction experience, Tang Ao knew that adding the 100-flower fruit could solve the problem of the supreme grade raising yuan pill's pill recipe. However, there's always a gap between theory and practice. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't rashly refine the 100-flower fruit's medicinal essence to fuse with the other spirit herbs' medicinal essences. After taking a deep breath, Tang Ao still began to refine the 100-flower fruit. In order to refine the supreme grade essence augmenting pill, although the original 3 supplementary herbs could reduce the medicinal properties of the supreme grade essence augmenting pill, without the 3 supplementary herbs or substitutes, the supreme grade essence augmenting pill couldn't condense into a pill. Therefore, since Tang Ao chose the 100-flower fruit to replace the original 3 supplementary spirit herbs, Tang Ao could only try it himself. Under the control of Tang Ao's sole remembrance, the black rock pill furnace's scarlet red flames instantly enveloped the 100-flower fruit. The 100-flower fruit instantly melted under the high temperature and became a ball of jade-white liquid. Tang Ao continued to control the alchemic fire to incinerate the jade-white medicinal liquid essence, turning the impurities within it into ashes. The 100-flower fruit might seem pure, but that was not the case. During the growth of the 100-flower fruit, the spirit chi of all kinds of flowers and plants would be absorbed by the 100-flower fruit. After brewing, it would become its own essence. However, the brewing process was not perfect, so there were many impurities in the essence of the 100-flower fruit. Because of this, even though the 100-flower fruit was a very good supplementary spirit medicine, very few pill recipes would use the 100-flower fruit to refine medicine. On the black-yellow continent, Tang Ao could occasionally see some pill recipes that used the 100-flower fruit to refine medicine. However, on the Flying Star continent, Tang Ao had never seen it before. Moreover, Tang Ao felt that the supreme grade raising yuan pill was already very difficult to refine. If the 100-flower fruit, which was very difficult to refine, was added, then the supreme grade raising yuan pill would be even more difficult to refine. There seemed to be no problem with this statement, but Tang Ao felt that after adding the 100-flower fruit, the most difficult part of refining the supreme grade raising yuan pill would be to refine the 100-flower fruit's medicinal essence. Chapter 1460. However, this was all in the future. Right now, even Tang Ao himself wasn't very sure if he could successfully concoct a supreme grade cultivating yuan pill with these modifications. In the Shennong Emperor's personal notes, Tang Ao saw that the Shennong Emperor often modified the pill recipe. Moreover, with the Shennong Emperor's understanding of various spirit herbs and pills, he naturally wouldn't make any mistakes in theory. However, in the Shennong Emperor's personal notes, Tang Ao saw that the Shennong Emperor made countless modifications to the pill recipe and made countless mistakes. Originally, Tang Ao felt that the modifications were very exquisite. However, after concocting the pill, he found that this modification couldn't concoct the pill. At this moment, Tang Ao was a bit worried that he would encounter this problem. However, although he was a bit worried, Tang Ao was still very confident in his modifications. Therefore, after purifying the 100-flower fruit's medicinal liquid essence to 70% purity, Tang Ao was ready to fuse it into the pill. According to Tang Ao's original idea, as long as the 100-flower fruit's medicinal liquid essence reached 60% purity, it could be fused with the other spirit herb's medicinal liquid essences to concoct the pill. However, to be safe, Tang Ao still purified the 100-flower fruit's medicinal liquid essence to 70% purity before starting to fuse the medicinal liquid essences. However, just as the 100-flower fruit was about to fuse with the other spirit herb's medicinal liquid essences, Tang Ao's expression changed. He hastily used his soul remembrance to separate the two medicinal liquid essences. Moreover, where the instant 100-flower fruit and the other spirit herb's medicinal liquid essences touched, with a chi sound, it turned into a black smoke. Seeing this, Tang Ao knew that he encountered the same problem as the Shenong Emperor. That was a modification that didn't have a problem with the medicinal theory, but immediately had a problem in practice. The most serious thing was that Tang Ao still didn't know what the problem was. Just now, if Tang Ao's soul remembrance wasn't powerful enough to detect that something was wrong the instant the two medicinal liquids merged and forcefully separate the two medicinal liquids, Tang Ao's pill concoction would have failed. If Tang Ao tried it himself, it would not matter even if he failed. But things were different now. This was because Tang Ao was competing on the alchemy platform. Moreover, as the alchemist who had successfully refined the heavy yang pill in the previous round, he had actually encountered a problem so quickly while refining the essence cultivating pill. Then, even if that was the case, the Dan Alliance would probably doubt his alchemy ability. Shaking his head, Tang Ao continued to extract the essence of the 100-flower fruit while sealing the essence of the other herbs with the Dan method. With Tang Ao's current soul remembrance strength, extracting the 100-flower fruit's essence to 99% purity wasn't a problem. However, in the extraction process just now, Tang Ao discovered that the higher the degree of purification, the more time it took. If he wanted to purify the 100-flower fruit's essence to 99% purity, he would probably need at least 3 days. Although the pill concoction conference didn't have a time limit, Tang Ao felt that no one would be willing to wait here for 3 days. Just like this, Tang Ao fell into a deep thought and analysis of the medicinal and toxicological properties of the various spirit herbs in the essence cultivating pill. He completely isolated himself from the outside world. Chapter 1461. If the 100-flower fruit had no problem replacing the original 3 types of spirit herbs, then what was the problem? While Tang Ao was puzzled, an alchemist cauldron on the alchemy platform suddenly exploded. Immediately, the alchemist's face turned black from the explosion. Even so, no one laughed at him. In the alchemy conference, any alchemist who could make it to the 3rd round was definitely worthy of recognition for their alchemy skills. Therefore, after this alchemist failed, there were very few people who laughed at him. Most people felt pity for him. This was because this alchemist was challenging to refine high-grade pills. After he failed, it meant that the Flying Star Continent had lost another alchemist who could refine high-grade vitality cultivation pills. The reason why high-grade essence augmenting pills and supreme-grade essence augmenting pills were so valuable was that there were too few alchemists who could refine high-grade essence augmenting pills and supreme-grade essence augmenting pills. Alchemists were rare, so the pills produced were naturally rare. As time went by, the price of high-grade and supreme-grade vitality cultivation pills would increase. They would become more and more expensive and more difficult to obtain. In the audience, there were many martial artists who thought highly of this alchemist. After the alchemist failed, they felt even more pity. Although the martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Caves could not leave the caves, because of the Evergreen Valley, the martial artists in the caves had many spirit herbs on them. If they sold these spirit herbs directly to the alchemy pavilion, they could at most get 10% to 20% of the profits. The rest would be eaten by the alchemy pavilion. If they could invite a powerful alchemist to refine these herbs into pills, then they would be able to obtain at least 50% to 70% of the original profits. If the alchemist they invited was not too black-hearted, then it was not impossible for them to obtain 90% of the profits. If there were alchemists who failed, there would naturally be alchemists who succeeded. Not long after, an alchemist cauldron emitted the fragrance of pills. However, he was only refining medium-grade vitality cultivation pills. The alchemist slapped the cauldron with both hands. Immediately, 3 pills flew out of the cauldron. A full batch of medial-grade essence augmenting pills contained 12 pills. Although this alchemist managed to concoct medial-grade essence augmenting pills, their quality was clearly not very high. This was different from the previous round, where the pill had to be presented to the 5 judges for inspection. This round, after the alchemist took out the pill, he took out a pill and placed it on the stone table beside him. Every alchemist had such a stone platform beside them. Tang Ao didn't know what this stone platform was used for, but if Tang Ao saw it now, he would understand that this stone platform was actually used to test pills. However, at this moment, Tang Ao was completely lost in thought. Therefore, Tang Ao still did not know the purpose of this stone platform. After that alchemist placed the refined medium-grade vitality cultivating pill on the stone platform, a green pillar of light immediately shot up into the sky, attracting the attention of everyone on the viewing platform. This pillar of light came out from the stone platform, supporting the pill that the alchemist had refined and suspending it in the pillar of light. If one looked closely, they would discover that this pillar of light had 9 small squares, and at this moment, 4 of the squares on the pillar of light had lit up. It was obvious that the pill concocted by this alchemist had only reached the level of 4 stars among the medium-grade vitality cultivating pills. Although it was only 4 stars, there were already many people who were interested in this alchemist. This was because medium-grade vitality cultivating pills were 3 stars and 1 small grade. For this alchemist to be able to concoct a 4-star medium-grade vitality cultivating pill was already very good. At this moment, Tang Ao was completely in a state of emptiness. Therefore, Tang Ao was completely unaware of what was happening in the outside world. Chapter 1462. On the Flying Star Continent, ordinary people had a lifespan of 200 to 300 years. Martial artists, on the other hand, had a lifespan of 300 to 800 years or even longer. With such a long lifespan, time became insignificant to a cultivator. Some martial artists even went into seclusion for several years. Therefore, half a day had passed in the 3rd round of the alchemy conference. After half a day, there were only 81 pill refiners left on the alchemy platform. The pill refiners who had already left had already gone to the VIP lounge to rest. Of these pill refiners who left, some succeeded while others failed. However, to be able to make it to the 3rd round of the alchemy conference, there was no doubt about their strength. Therefore, even pill refiners who failed would receive an invitation from the Alchemy Guild as long as they performed well in the first 2 rounds. Among these 19 alchemists, there were a total of 9 who had succeeded in concocting alchemical pills. Without exception, all 9 of them had concocted medium-grade essence augmenting pills. What was even more surprising was that after the first alchemist had concocted a 4-star level medium-grade essence augmenting pill, the alchemist who had concocted medium-grade essence augmenting pills after him had all gone downhill. There was actually no one who had surpassed him. Even so, the pill refiners who successfully concocted intermediate-grade vitality cultivation pills were still favored by some forces. These forces included forces from the dragon subduing market, forces from the Great Ten Alliance, and even forces outside the dragon subduing caves. The dragon subduing caves was a special existence to the Flying Star Continent. Therefore, the forces that could freely enter and exit the dragon subduing caves definitely had a terrifying background. Some pill refiners who knew Shanluali's identity wanted to visit Shanluali, hoping to work under the 9-Colored Deer Trade Union. However, the pill refiners who went were all rejected by Shanluali. Although the nine-color deer trade union was also a producer of high-quality pills, there weren't many pill refiners in the trade union. For example, the Alchemy Guild had more than 300 pill refiners above 6-star, but in the entire nine-color deer trade union, there were only 13 pill refiners. However, these 13 pill refiners weren't ordinary. Among them, there were a few pill refiners who weren't inferior to the 6 elders of the Alchemy Guild. Of course, if it was compared to the Dan Alliance's Alliance Master and the 3 Deputy Alliance Masters, they were a little lacking. After not being able to join the Pill Alliance or the 9-Colored Deer Merchant Guild, many Pill Masters could only disappointingly choose other reputable factions. Just at this moment, a strange fluctuation spread out from the alchemy platform. Following that, everyone saw a faint golden pillar of light soar into the sky. The pill testing stone emitted a total of 4 different colored light beams. If it was a low-grade essence cultivating pill, then the light beam emitted by the pill testing stone would be light green. If it was a middle-grade essence augmenting pill, the light emitted by the pill testing stone would be green. However, if it was a high-grade essence augmenting pill, it would be able to trigger a pale golden light pillar. On the other hand, the supreme grade vitality augmenting pill could release an incomparably resplendent golden pillar of light. It was just that the faint golden light pillar would appear in every alchemy conference, but the incomparably resplendent golden light pillar hadn't appeared in a very long time. At this moment, a faint golden pillar of light appeared on the alchemy platform. This meant that a pill refiner had concocted a high-grade essence augmenting pill. Everyone's gazes instantly gathered on this pill refiner. After clearly seeing who had concocted the high-grade essence augmenting pill, everyone instantly lost interest. Chapter 1463. This wasn't to say that Ning Huanhuan's alchemy ability was different, but it was because Ning Huanhuan's reputation as a little devil was still extremely resounding in the Hidden Dragon Cave. Many martial artists have been tricked by her. Moreover, Xiaozhen spoiled Ning Huanhuan to no end. The martial artists who were tricked by her could only grit their teeth and swallow it. How would they dare to find trouble with Ning Huanhuan? On the pillar of light beside Ning Huanhuan, 7 small squares lit up. Looking at these 7 squares, Ning Huanhuan wiped the sweat on her forehead in satisfaction. In order to refine this furnace of elixirs, Ning Huanhuan really expended a lot of effort. Fortunately, Ning Huanhuan finally finished refining the elixirs. Moreover, the grade of the elixirs was very good. It was a 7-star elixir among the high-grade essence fostering elixirs. Although everyone knew that Ning Huanhuan was a mischievous little devil, many people were secretly speechless when they saw Ning Huanhuan refine a 7-star high-grade essence fostering elixir. As expected of Alliance leader Xiao Zhen's granddaughter, her alchemy skills are so impressive. Sigh. This little girl's alchemy skills are not bad, but she's too mischievous. The last time I asked her to help me refine elixirs, she forcefully refined 100 yang blazing elixirs into 100 yin blazing elixirs. Sigh. Shopkeeper Wang is really bold. He actually dared to ask the little devil to help you refine elixirs. Old brother Wang, this is still considered good. Last time when I asked the little devil king to help me refine the cloud fragrance pill, this little devil king actually ate the most important cloud fragrance fruit in the cloud fragrance pill. In the end, he refined 30 bottles of cloud fragrance pills without the cloud fragrance fruit for me. Many martial artists who were tricked by Ning Huanhuan complained in the audience. This also caused those who originally wanted to ask Ning Huanhuan to refine elixirs to quickly give up on this idea. The lessons from the past were still vivid in their minds. They naturally would not repeat the same mistakes. I'm so amazing. Is no one inviting me to refine elixirs? What the crowd never expected was that after Ning Huanhuan finished refining elixirs, she was a little displeased that no one invited her to refine elixirs. She raised her voice and shouted around. Hearing her words, many people's expressions changed. It was true that Ning Huanhuan was good at alchemy, but it was also true that this little devil never refined elixirs properly. What a bunch of people with no foresight. After seeing that no one invited her, Ning Huanhuan snorted and casually walked off the alchemy platform. After seeing Xia Kaiyun in the stands, Ning Huanhuan trotted towards Xia Kaiyun. Many people in the crouching dragon market had been fooled by Ning Huanhuan, but only Xia Kaiyun could subdue this little devil. Tang Ao had no idea what was happening in the outside world. At this moment, Tang Ao was in a state of epiphany. Tang Ao was already a peak grade 6 spirit pill master and was only a step away from becoming an immortal pill master. However, Tang Ao had never been able to see through this fine line, so he had never been able to refine an immortal pill. Although the elixir Tang Ao refined this time was still in the category of spirit pill, Tang Ao had comprehended some of the true essence of elixirs. The most basic aspects of elixirs were indeed pharmacology and toxicology. However, pharmacology and toxicology were not the entirety of elixirs. Elixirs were a crystallization of nomological Tao meaning. Pharmacology and toxicology were the most superficial things. If one studied at a deeper level, one would realize that above pharmacology and toxicology was the nomological Tao meaning. These were the essence of elixirs. It was just that Tang Ao was still a little confused about them. Chapter 1464. At this moment, Tang Ao closed his eyes slowly. Tang Ao didn't know what was going on around him. At this moment, Tang Ao was even more immersed in the consciousness world. This state was similar to entering the boundless world and awakening the life soul. However, it was even more mysterious than entering the boundless world and awakening the life soul. When Tang Ao entered this state, a man sitting cross-legged on a rock in the heart of a small lake in the depths of Evergreen Valley opened his eyes blankly. What kind of Tao connotation is this? Why does it feel so unfamiliar? I have never seen such a Tao connotation before. Divine King Yinxing, who was dressed in black, grabbed at the void in front of him and closed his eyes to comprehend. When Divine King Yinxing casually grabbed, Tang Ao immediately felt a pain in his consciousness sea. It was as if something in his body had been forcefully stripped away. Although it was hard to believe, Tang Ao was sure that it wasn't an illusion. Instead, there was really a terrifying existence in the Flying Star continent. Just now, this abnormally powerful expert had grabbed something from his body. Tang Ao had seen many chaotic sky realm experts, including Shirley. However, Tang Ao was sure that the one who had just stripped away the Tao connotation from his body was far stronger than the chaotic sky realm. Beyond the chaotic sky realm was a Tao master expert. At the mention of a Tao master expert, Tang Ao knew that he and the origin magnetic realm were doomed. This was because he was the successor of Ming Di, and Ming Di and the origin magnetic realm Tao master were mortal enemies. However, Tang Ao had experienced the Tao connotation of the origin magnetic realm before. Furthermore, Tang Ao felt that the Tao connotation just now was stronger than the origin magnetic realm. Of course, Tang Ao wouldn't have thought that the one who had just stripped away the Tao connotation from his body was Divine King Yinxing, who had been reborn through samsara. However, Divine King Yinxing was still in an extremely weak state, so Tang Ao mistook him for a Tao master expert. In fact, if Divine King Yinxing was at his peak, a Tao master expert wouldn't even be qualified to carry his shoes. However, Tang Ao had never imagined that there would be a God King in Evergreen Valley. At this moment, Tang Ao entered a deep state of comprehension. Tang Ao already felt that a brand new door had opened in front of him. What he wanted to do was to enter it and explore a wider world. On the other side, more and more alchemists had finished concocting their pills on the alchemy platform. As the alchemists finished refining the elixirs, everyone was even more surprised by Ning Huanhuan's alchemy ability. At this moment, many people understood why so many people were willing to ask Ning Huanhuan to refine elixirs for them, even though she was mischievous. This was because after Ning Huanhuan had refined the high-grade essence fostering pill, none of the alchemists who came after her had refined it until now. Later on, the alchemists who refined the elixirs all refined middle-grade essence nourishing elixirs. Although there were alchemists who managed to concoct a 9-star medium-grade essence cultivating pill, the 9-star medium-grade essence cultivating pill paled in comparison to the brilliance of the high-grade essence cultivating pill. Fortunately, after a period of time, the second faint golden light pillar also appeared. The appearance of the golden light pillar meant that another alchemist had refined a high-grade essence nourishing pill. After seeing the alchemist who refined the high-grade essence nourishing pill, everyone felt that it was reasonable. This was because the alchemist who refined the high-grade essence nourishing pill was Wang Kuan. Wang Kuan was the personal disciple of the Alchemy Guild's leader, Lin Ruchang. He was also very famous in the alchemy world. Before the start of this alchemy conference, many people thought that Wang Kuan would definitely be first on the 3 lists. In the end, after 2 rounds of competition, Wang Kuan obtained 4th place twice, while Tang Ao obtained 1st place on 2 lists. Moreover, in the 3rd round of competition, Wang Kuan clearly couldn't obtain 1st place. Even though Tang Ao and the other 4 alchemists who refined the supreme grade essence nourishing pill all failed, Wang Kuan still lost. This was because Wang Kuan also refined a 7-star essence nourishing pill, which was the same grade as the elixir that Ning Huanhuan refined. The elixir's grade was the same, but Wang Kuan used 4 hours more than Ning Huanhuan. Chapter 1465. Tang Ao was completely unaware of Wang Kuan's hatred. Even if Tang Ao knew, Tang Ao would not take it to heart, because Tang Ao was still carefully analyzing the problem of the improved elixir recipe. Actually, if Wang Kuan's temperament was more stable, he would have no problem refining the supreme grade essence cultivating elixir. Unfortunately, Wang Kuan was narrow-minded. In this alchemy conference, after Tang Ao stole the limelight, Wang Kuan's state of mind was even worse. When he was refining the superior grade essence cultivating elixir just now, Wang Kuan did everything methodically. However, because he thought of Tang Ao, Wang Kuan's state of mind became chaotic. Originally, he could have refined an 8-star superior grade essence cultivating elixir, but because of Wang Kuan's chaotic state of mind, he immediately made a mistake. Otherwise, Wang Kuan could have refined a 7-star superior grade essence cultivating elixir before Ning Huanhuan. Because of the mistake, Wang Kuan's alchemy almost failed. Later, after he tried his best to save it, he finally refined a 7-star superior grade essence cultivating elixir. With unwillingness and resentment, Wang Kuan left the alchemy platform. Although Wang Kuan was already an alchemist of the Alchemy Alliance and could not join other forces, many people still valued Wang Kuan's alchemy ability. Hence, after Wang Kuan walked down the alchemy platform, many warriors surrounded him and represented the forces behind them to invite Wang Kuan to refine elixirs. In the past, Wang Kuan would choose to accept these invitations. However, at this moment, Wang Kuan was really not in the mood. Moreover, the forces that Wang Kuan liked actually looked down on him this time and did not invite him. Thinking of this, Wang Kuan glanced at Shun Luoli and the others in the VIP seats. The people from the major forces were basically sitting there. That place had the best view and could see the performance of all the alchemists on the alchemy platform. In the previous alchemy conference, the people in the VIP seats had already come to find him. However, this time, these people actually dared to look down on him and were still watching. Thinking of this, Wang Kuan snorted coldly and left. Wang Kuan completely ignored the people around him. Although Wang Kuan's attitude was vile, these people did not dare to say anything. After all, Wang Kuan was an alchemist who could refine superior vigor-augmenting pills. On the Flying Star continent, no one would care if an alchemist who could refine superior vigor-augmenting pills had a friendly attitude. All they cared about was whether or not they could get the pills they wanted from this alchemist. Although Wang Kuan didn't say it, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Wang Kuan and the Dark Horse alchemist of this alchemy conference, Tang Ao, were clearly at loggerheads. So now that Wang Kuan's attitude was bad, no one dared to provoke him. After Wang Kuan left, the alchemy conference continued. At this time, there were still more than 40 alchemists concocting pills. However, Ning Huan and Wang Kun were the only ones who had successfully refined the upper-grade vigor cultivation pill. The rest of the alchemists who had refined the upper-grade vigor cultivation pill had yet to succeed. As for Tang Ao's group of 5 who were refining the supreme-grade vitality augmenting pill, none of them had completed the refining process or showed any signs of failure. Although the 5 of them were refining the supreme-grade vitality augmenting pill, their refining process was different. Tang Ao sat cross-legged in front of the cauldron with his eyes closed, allowing his soul remembrance to control the refinement of the spiritual herbs in the cauldron. Chapter 1466. Although the wordless pill book was called a book, it was actually a stone tablet. It was unknown who had recorded this ancient and profound pill seal technique on this stone tablet. Back then, the Shennong Emperor had learned the pill technique from the wordless pill book. Later on, he continued to improve and modify in practice, which was why the pill technique Tang Ao was using today was formed. Therefore, the pill technique that Lin Fan was using now was from the same source as the pill technique that Tang Ao was using. Therefore, they looked very similar. Although the Shennong Emperor had made many modifications to the original pill technique, he still retained a portion of the content. However, pill techniques were too mysterious and complicated. If one didn't happen to understand this pill technique, even if they saw Tang Ao and Lin Fan using the wordless pill technique at the same time, it would be difficult to recognize that it was the same pill technique. In the third round, although some people noticed Lin Fan, most of them were still focused on Tang Ao. After all, in the first 2 rounds of the test, Tang Ao was the absolute dark horse that won the first 2 rounds of the test consecutively. Therefore, in this round of the test, most people were still paying attention to Tang Ao. However, what confused them was that Tang Ao seemed to have easily concocted the most difficult 9-star pill, the Chongyang pill, in the second round of the test. Now, although Tang Ao was concocting the supreme grade vitality cultivation pill, why hadn't Tang Ao started concocting the pill after so long? Ever since he threw the spiritual grass into the pill furnace, Tang Ao had been quietly sitting in front of the pill furnace. On the VIP seats, Shun Luoli's beautiful eyes stared at Tang Ao without blinking. At the end of the second round of the test, Shun Luoli had represented the 9-colored deer trade union to invite Tang Ao. However, as soon as she invited him, the news that Tang Ao had joined the Elixir Guild spread. Shun Luoli understood that this was because the Elixir Guild was in a favorable position. Even so, Shun Luoli still wanted to seek help from Tang Ao. Right now, the 9-colored deer trade union was in the midst of a storm. Although there wasn't a huge crisis yet, Shun Luoli knew that once a crisis appeared, the 9-colored deer merchant guild wouldn't be able to deal with it. It was easy to solve this danger. All she had to do was let her grandfather become an Origin Realm cultivator. On the surface, it seemed that a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm was only a step away from the Origin Realm. However, Shun Luoli, who had truly experienced the strength of an Origin Realm martial artist, knew that the seemingly one step away was like a chasm between heaven and earth. Back then, when the 9-colored deer trade union was transporting a treasure to the trade union, it was attacked by a mysterious person. At that time, the person in charge of transporting the treasures was the 16-year-old Shun Luoli. That time, 5 9th-tier body refining realm expert from the 9-colored deer merchant association had been gravely injured by that mysterious expert. If not for the Flying Star Alliance's Lu Chuanjia, who happened to pass by and stop that person, they would not have been able to escape. Now, not to mention the precious treasure that was being transported, even she, Shun Luoli, was no longer in this world. Because she had seen the methods of an Origin Realm cultivator, Shun Luoli knew the power of an Origin Realm cultivator. Back then, the 9-colored deer trade union was only one of the weaker first-rate trade unions. Now, the 9-colored deer trade union had become the #1 trade union in the Flying Star continent. The trade union was rapidly expanding, but the peak battle power of the trade union clearly couldn't keep up. Just like before, the strongest cultivator in the 9-colored deer trade union was still only at the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm. Chapter 1467. According to the 9-colored deer merchant guild's own investigation, the 9-colored deer merchant guild's current wealth was even greater than the Liu family's manor, which was ranked first among the 8 overlord powers. Moreover, the 9-colored deer merchant guild's wealth was at least double that of the Liu family's manor. However, on the surface, the Liu family manor had 2 origin realm experts. Who knew how many there were in the dark? The 9-colored deer merchant guild had such a shocking amount of wealth, yet it didn't have a single origin realm expert. Which of the 8 overlord powers wouldn't covet such a big piece of meat? Originally, when the 8 overlord powers were relatively stable, they all used the method of marriage. They wanted to marry the young geniuses in their own power and indirectly control the 9-colored deer merchant guild. However, Shun Luoli used all sorts of reasons to evade them. However, Shun Luoli also understood that she could evade them for a while, but she couldn't evade them forever. Once one or a few overlord powers reached a certain condition, dividing up the 9-colored deer merchant guild would only be a matter of a day. Every time she thought of that, Shun Luoli felt a deep sense of helplessness. So, no matter what, Shun Luoli had to bring back the Heavy Yang pill. With the Heavy Yang pill, Shun Luoli's grandfather had a 90% chance of breaking into the origin realm. At that time, even though the 9-colored deer merchant guild only had 1 origin realm expert, it would have a certain amount of power in the Flying Star continent. It wouldn't be controlled by the 8 overlord powers. Before, Liu Chuanjia had always wanted her to marry his only son, Liu Xingjin. Luckily, Liu Xingjin was a martial maniac and didn't have any thoughts about her. Thinking of Liu Xingjin, Shun Luoli felt a bit strange. Not long ago, Shun Luoli received news that Liu Xingjin liked a woman of extreme beauty. Shun Luoli was quite confident in her own looks, but Liu Xingjin hadn't even come to see her before. Now, it was said that Liu Xingjin liked a beauty. Shun Luoli inwardly shook her head. If it wasn't for the 9-colored deer merchant guild and the Liu family manor, Liu Xingjin would indeed be an ideal partner. Although Liu Xingjin was still in the 9th level of the body refinement realm, Liu Xingjin already had records of fighting against many Origin Realm martial artists. He even defeated Origin Realm martial artists with the cultivation of the 9th level of the Origin Realm. Such a glorious battle record was enough to enchant countless women, especially to Shun Luoli, who currently felt very insecure. Liu Xingjin was really not bad. Unfortunately, Shun Luoli was the heir to the 9-colored deer merchant guild. If Shun Luoli and Liu Xingjin were together, the 9-colored deer merchant guild that the Shun family had painstakingly managed would naturally be swallowed up by the Liu family. This was something that Shun Luoli absolutely did not want to see. Thinking of this, Shun Luoli once again glanced at Tang Ao on the alchemy platform. At this moment, Tang Ao was still sitting cross-legged in front of the cauldron with his eyes closed. No one knew what he was doing. Although Tang Ao's cultivation wasn't high, and he didn't have an impressive battle record like Liu Xingjin, Tang Ao still gave Shun Luoli a lot of hope. As long as the quality of the Heavy Yang pill Tang Ao made was not too bad, her grandfather could absolutely break through the shackles of the body refinement realm and become an Origin Realm martial artist. As long as her grandfather became an Origin Realm martial artist, the 9-colored deer merchant guild would have a chance to breathe. However, right now, she hadn't finished discussing the matter of inviting Tang Ao alchemy. Shun Luoli had confidence in inviting the 3 Vice Alliance Masters of the Dan Alliance, but she didn't have much confidence in inviting Tang Ao. Shun Luoli very rarely took the initiative to invite people, but as long as she invited people, especially those young geniuses, because of their beauty, they would be very willing to work in the 9-colored deer merchant guild. Chapter 1468. The servant girl standing next to alchemist Tang Ao right now is called Lu Ro. Her father is a famous wanderer in the Hidden Dragon Caves, Lu Tianxing. It's said that Lu Tianxing is a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the body, refining realm. He was poisoned by an eviline poison in the Evergreen Valley and needs a heavy yang pill to cure it. The heavy yang pill Tang Ao made just now was indeed provided by Lu Ro. That means Tang Ao didn't lie just now. Tang Ao made 6 heavy yang pills just now. To cure the Yin poison, he needs at least 3 or even 5 heavy yang pills. The old man needs at least 4 heavy yang pills to cultivate the 8-9 pure yang technique. It looks like I need to ask Tang Ao to make another cauldron of heavy yang pills. All right, how's the quality of the heavy yang pill Tang Ao made? Shen Luoli asked after some thought. Although it was already very good to get the heavy yang pill, if the quality was too bad, her grandfather's chances of breaking through to the origin martial realm would be much lower. The 9-color deer merchant guild never lacked spear herbs. So if the quality of the heavy yang pill Tang Ao made wasn't high, the 9-color deer merchant guild could even provide large amounts of spirit herbs for Tang Ao to practice with, as long as Tang Ao could make a pill that satisfied the 9-color deer merchant guild. Miss, I just learned from Di Wenming that the heavy yang pill Tang Ao made is a special grade heavy yang pill. Di Wenming made the heavy yang pill before and has a deep understanding of the heavy yang pill, so the information should be accurate. Although the 9-color deer merchant guild didn't do business in the hidden dragon caves, as merchants, their information network was unquestionable. When Shen Luoli heard that the heavy yang pill Tang Ao made was a special grade heavy yang pill, she was overjoyed. With a special grade heavy yang pill, her grandfather could definitely break through to the origin martial realm. Shen Luoli had already decided to ask Tang Ao to make a cauldron of heavy yang pills for her at all costs, even if she had to sacrifice herself. Born in the 9-color deer merchant guild, he had never had to worry about food or clothing. Whether it was cultivating martial arts or learning alchemy, he never lacked cultivation resources and spirit herbs. However, Shen Luoli also understood that the 9-color deer merchant guild had given her so much, and she had to repay it eventually. Thinking of this, Shen Luoli felt a little sad. She had worked so hard to learn alchemy and had become a 9-star alchemist, but she still couldn't refine the Chongyang elixir. After putting in so much effort, he was still forced to take this step. Big Sister Shen, look, someone has refined a high-grade essence cultivating pill again. Just as Shen Luoli was secretly depressed, Xia Kaiyun suddenly pointed at the pill refining platform and said. Shen Luoli's gaze followed the direction that Xia Kaiyun was pointing. At this moment, another pillar of light shot up into the sky from the alchemy platform. This pillar of light was behind Tang Ao. This time, the alchemist who had refined the high-grade essence fostering pill was the alchemist behind Tang Ao. That person seemed to be silent. Ever since he arrived at the pill refining platform, Tang Ao didn't see him communicate with anyone. However, right now, Tang Ao was in a completely profound state of meditation. So, even though the alchemist behind him had refined a high-grade essence fostering pill, Tang Ao had no idea. Tang Ao had a calm expression, but the surrounding people's expressions were not calm at all. That was because the alchemist concocted a high-grade 8-star essence fostering pill. Although Ning Huan and Wang Kuan both concocted high-grade 7-star essence fostering pills, the essence fostering pill concocted by this alchemist was only 1 level higher. However, a high-grade essence fostering pill was different from a mid-grade essence fostering pill. A high-grade essence fostering pill could be said to be a step towards the heavens. The high-grade 8-star essence fostering pill concocted by this alchemist was a qualitative leap. Chapter 1469. After coming back to his senses, Tang Ao scanned with his soul remembrance and found that there were only 30 or so pill refiners left on the pill refining platform. Apart from this, there were a few light gold and green pillars of light on the pill refining platform. Within these pillars of light floated a pill. As Tang Ao scanned his surroundings with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao happened to see a pill refiner place a pill into the pill testing stone. Immediately after, a light gold pillar of light immediately shot into the sky. Seeing this, Tang Ao instantly understood the purpose of the pill testing stone. With Tang Ao's eyesight, he could naturally see that there was a tight formation between the pill testing stone and the entire pill refining platform. Tang Ao silently praised. Although the Flying Star Continent's formation Dao development was slow, a formation master that could set up such a formation was definitely a monstrous genius. Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned the pill refiner concocted. Tang Ao nodded his head. The pill he concocted was not bad. He didn't know who made this pill testing stone, but its inspection of the pill wasn't bad at all. At this moment, the light gold pillar of light had lit up 6 small boxes. After Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned them, he naturally knew that this pill refiner's pill had roughly reached this grade. After this pill refiner, a few more pill refiners succeeded one after another. Of course, there were people who succeeded and people who failed. However, up until now, no pill refiner had concocted a pill that surpassed the 8-star high-grade yuan cultivating pill. As for Tang Ao and the other 5 alchemists who were refining the best quality essence cultivating pill, none of them had succeeded nor failed. When Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned Lin Fan, Tang Ao was slightly surprised. This was because Lin Fan was using a very ancient and mysterious pill art. This pill art was very similar to the one Tang Ao had learned from the Shinnong Emperor. However, from Tang Ao's perspective, Lin Fan's pill art was a bit more complicated. After discovering that Lin Fan was using a pill art, Tang Ao's Heaven's polar eyes immediately looked towards Lin Fan. It was the first time that Tang Ao had seen an alchemist using such an elixir skill in the Black-Yellow Continent, the Snow Plain, and the Flying Star Continent. Although the Shinnong Emperor's modified pill technique was very easy for Tang Ao to use, Tang Ao felt that the Shinnong Emperor's modified pill technique should be in line with his own alchemy habits and his understanding of alchemy. The advantage of doing this was that Tang Ao could use it immediately and understand it very quickly. However, the disadvantages were also very obvious. That was, the Shinnong Emperor's alchemy techniques were highly compatible with his understanding of alchemy and alchemy habits, while Tang Ao's alchemy habits and understanding of alchemy were not the same as the Shinnong Emperor's. Therefore, if Tang Ao wanted to improve his alchemy skills, he still had to have his own pill art. Although the Shinnong Emperor's pill art had changed a lot, after seeing the pill art that Lin Fan was using, Tang Ao realized that Lin Fan's pill art was closer to the original form of pill art. After thinking about it, Tang Ao decided to ask Tang Ao where he had learned his pill art. Of course, Tang Ao wouldn't ask for nothing. Tang Ao would impart all the pill arts that a 9-star alchemist could use to Lin Fan in exchange. To Tang Ao, these pill arts limited the improvement of Tang Ao's alchemy skills, but to Lin Fan, they were definitely treasures that he could only dream of. Tang Ao looked at the supreme grade essence cultivating pill that Lin Fan had refined. Unlike him, Lin Fan didn't modify the formula of the supreme grade essence cultivating pill. Instead, he strictly followed the recipe of the supreme grade essence cultivating pill. Chapter 1470. These 3 people weren't easy to deal with. After seeing the peak grade raising essence pills they concocted, Tang Ao was slightly surprised. These 3 old fellows had all added ingredients to the original recipe. Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion's Lu Yuan had gone crazy and added 29 types of spirit grasses to the original recipe. The original recipe only needed 29 types of spirit grasses to concoct a peak grade-raising essence pill. However, Lu Yuan had doubled the number of spirit grasses. Tang Ao was silently speechless. He had reduced the original 29 types of spirit grasses by 2 to prevent the medicinal properties from mixing. However, these 3 pill masters had all increased the number of spirit grasses. Compared to Lu Yuan, the Alliance's 6th elder was more normal. Moreover, his thinking was the same as Tang Ao's, using supplementary spirit grasses to suppress the frost grass's medicinal properties. The only difference was that Tang Ao had directly removed the the 3 supplementary spirit grasses and added the 100-flower fruit to suppress the frost grass's medicinal properties. As for Yi, he had added 6 more spirit grasses to suppress the frost grass's medicinal properties. Although the number of spirit grasses had increased, Tang Ao was still very confident in Zhuyi's pill concoction abilities. Zhuyi's addition of 6 spirit grasses didn't conflict with the existing 29 spirit grasses other than the frost grass. However, they still managed to suppress the frost grass's medicinal properties. Yet, with Zhuyi's modification, the pill concoction difficulty had doubled. If Zhuyi's recipe was used to concoct a peak grade-raising essence pill that was already hard to concoct, although it would ultimately be able to concoct a better pill, not many pill masters would have the ability to concoct such a pill. And that's not right. Tang Ao was just about to retract his soul remembrance when he immediately discovered something strange about Zhuyi's pill furnace. Logically, after Zhuyi added 6 supplementary spirit grasses, the pill concoction difficulty had indeed doubled. However, this pill alliance's 6th elder wasn't someone to be trifled with. Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned that in Zhuyi's pill furnace, all the spirit grasses had been split into 2 parts. One part was the 6 supplementary spirit grasses. These supplementary spirit grasses had all been refined by Zhuyi into an 80% pure medicinal liquid essence. On the other side, there were other spirit herbs floating in the air. After the medicinal liquid essence of these spirit grasses was extracted, Zhuyi introduced the medicinal liquid essence into the medicinal liquid essence of the auxiliary spirit grasses. After the introduction, Zhuyi began to put in the next spirit herb and began to extract the essence of the medicinal liquid. Although some of the essence of the medicinal liquid would be lost during the refining process by adding them one by one, the refining difficulty was greatly reduced. Seeing this, Tang Ao secretly sighed in his heart. As expected, he couldn't underestimate the heroes of the world. After observing for a moment, Tang Ao knew that a full pill of the highest grade essence augmenting pill was 3 pills. However, using Zhuyi's method to refine the highest grade essence augmenting pill, although the quality of the pill was higher than the original essence augmenting pill, after this method of refining, there was only 1 pill left in a full pill. That's right, after he modified the pill recipe, coupled with his special alchemy skills, it became much easier to refine the best quality vitality augmenting pill, and the grade of the pill was also improved. However, the original full pill of 3 highest grade vitality augmenting pills had been completely modified by Zhuyi to only have 1 pill. Shaking his head, Tang Ao didn't continue to look at Zhuyi. Although Tang Ao was also shocked by Zhuyi's idea, Tang Ao knew that even after this modification, Zhuyi would still need a long time to finish concocting the pill. Tang Ao's soul remembrance finally landed on Gong Yangjio. After seeing Gong Yangjio, Tang Ao wanted to laugh. Chapter 1471. After Tang Ao's soul remembrance passed through Gong Yangjio's pill furnace, Tang Ao discovered that Gong Yangjio really was treating pill concoction like mixing batter. At this moment, all of the ingredients in Gong Yangjio's pill furnace had been turned into powder by his Yuan Qi. Gong Yangjio then added the sweet dew into the pill furnace and incessantly stirred. As he stirred, some impurities flew out and were burned to ashes by the pill fire. Gong Yangjio's gaze didn't change as he continued to stir. Tang Ao could see that Gong Yangjio's golden rod wasn't normal. When Gong Yangjio was stirring the pill, the golden rod would emit a special fluctuation. Although pill concoction like this was very refreshing, Tang Ao didn't have any intentions of learning it. After letting out a wry smile, Tang Ao's attention returned to his pill furnace. With the enlightenment just now, Tang Ao didn't have to struggle to concoct the supreme grade cultivating yuan pills anymore. Although he hadn't started yet, Tang Ao didn't doubt that he could successfully concoct it. After such a long time, the 100 flower fruit's purity had been purified by Tang Ao to 90%. However, Tang Ao didn't have any intentions of stopping and continued to purify the 100-flower fruit. Since he had already purified to 90%, and other pill refiners needed a long time to concoct their pills, Tang Ao might as well try to purify the 100-flower fruit to the limit. According to the Shinong Emperor's pill concoction notes, the limit of the 100-flower fruit's purification was 96%. Right now, Tang Ao had just purified the 100-flower fruit to 90% purity. There was still some distance from 96%. Pong! At this moment, an explosion suddenly came from the northern corner of the pill concoction stage. Immediately after, a pill refiner was sent flying by the explosion. This pill refiner was concocting a high-grade cultivating yuan pill, but his concoction had clearly failed. Moreover, the reason for his failure was because the spirit medicine was out of balance. As an outstanding pill refiner that had made it into the third round, such a low-level mistake shouldn't have occurred. Therefore, after this pill refiner's pill furnace exploded, Xiao Zhen and the others' faces darkened. With a wave of his hand, he signaled the martial artists of the Alchemy Guild to carry the alchemist away. Because this alchemist was an alchemist from the Alchemy Guild. To make such a low-level mistake in the Alchemy Conference, he wasn't just losing his own face, but the entire Alchemy Guild's face. After this alchemist's furnace exploded, a few more alchemists left. Of course, these alchemists had performed well and were extremely lucky. Hence, in the end, they were all able to successfully refine the pill. However, up until now, no alchemist had been able to refine a pill that surpassed the 8-star high-grade essence nurturing pill. When there were only 5 people left on the alchemy stage, everyone knew that they wouldn't be able to see a 9-star high-grade vitality augmenting pill in this year's alchemy conference. This was because the remaining 5 alchemists on the stage were all concocting essence, nurturing pills of the highest grade. Although they couldn't see the 9-star high-grade vitality augmenting pill, the crowd's enthusiasm didn't diminish in the slightest. Because the appearance of the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill was obviously more worth looking forward to. However, it wasn't that easy to see the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. At that moment, the 5 alchemists on the alchemy stage were still focused on concocting the pill. There were no signs of success or failure. Until the very end, it was really hard to tell if the 5 of them would be able to concoct the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. Others didn't know, but alchemist Tang Ao knew. Because just now, Tang Ao had peaked at their pill furnaces. Therefore, Tang Ao was sure that Lin Fan and the 6th elder of the Alchemy Guild would definitely be able to concoct the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. Chapter 1472. After an unknown amount of time, Tang Ao let out a light breath. Up until now, Tang Ao had finally purified the 100-flower fruit's medicinal essence to 96% purity. According to the Shinong Emperor's pill concoction notes, this purity was the limit of the 100-flower fruit's medicinal essence. However, Tang Ao didn't stop there. Previously, he was worried that he didn't have enough time. So Tang Ao was in a rush to combine the medicinal essence and congeal the pill. Now, after Tang Ao observed, he found that time wasn't that tight. This was because the remaining 4 people wouldn't be able to refine the pill so quickly. Because this was Tang Ao's first time concocting a peak-grade yuan cultivating pill, he wasn't very clear on how long it would take. After concocting to this point, Tang Ao understood that without 8 to 10 hours, these people probably wouldn't be able to concoct the pill. Thinking up to this point, Tang Ao naturally wasn't in a rush. Moreover, because Tang Ao had the Shinong Emperor's pill inheritance, the slowest process of concocting pills was the process of purifying the medicinal essence. After that, combining the medicinal essences and congealing the pill was an extremely easy task for Tang Ao. Looks like this pill isn't that easy to concoct. Since it's like this, I'll try to see if I can purify this yuan cultivating pill to 99% purity. His sole remembrance swept over the surrounding people, and Tang Ao thought to himself. Promptly, Tang Ao didn't hurry to combine the medicinal essences and congeal the pill. instead continuing to purify the 100-flower fruit. The 100-flower fruit was a very special spirit herb. Of the numerous pills that Tang Ao knew of, the majority of pills could be mixed with the 100-flower fruit to harmonize their medicinal properties. The 100-flower fruit innately absorbed the essences of the surrounding spirit herbs to grow, so it could complement the various spirit herbs. However, because of this, the 100-flower fruit had a lot of impurities. As the 100-flower fruit grew, it absorbed the spirituality of the surrounding spirit herbs and refined it into its own essence. If the 100-flower fruit could absorb all the spiritual aura, it would naturally be full of essence. However, the reality was not as good as one would imagine. The spiritual aura absorbed by the 100-flower fruit could not be completely refined. The spiritual aura that was refined by the 100-flower fruit became the essence of the 100-flower fruit, while the spiritual aura that wasn't refined was deposited in the 100-flower fruit's body. After a long time, it would naturally accumulate and become impurities. Because these impurities grew along with the 100-flower fruit, it wasn't easy to remove them. After the Shennong Emperor studied it repeatedly, he found that the purity of the 100-flower fruit could only be purified to 96%, and it was very difficult to increase it further. Inside the alchemy cauldron, a scarlet alchemy fire burned fiercely. Tang Ao spat out some vital energy from his palm, and the alchemy fire immediately danced in the cauldron as if it was stimulated. With the infusion of Tang Ao's essence qi, the temperature of the alchemy fire suddenly rose. Generally speaking, the temperature of the alchemy fire used to refine medicinal liquids could not be too high, but there were exceptions to everything. Just like when refining the medicinal essence of the 100-flower fruit, if one wanted to increase the purity of the 100-flower fruit, one could not use an ordinary fire. Of course, this was risky. The scorching heat could easily turn the spirit grass into ashes. After Tang Ao removed the original 3 auxiliary spirit herbs, if he wanted to refine the best quality essence cultivating pill, he would need the 100-flower fruit. If the 100-flower fruit was burned to ashes during the refining process, then this cauldron of pills would be completely wasted. Chapter 1473. Under Tang Ao's concentrated control, the pill fire completely enveloped the 100-flower fruit's medicinal essence. Then, Tang Ao began a long process of refining the 100-flower fruit's medicinal essence. Like Tang Ao, the other 4 pill refiners were also in a tough battle. The most relaxed person was Lin Fan, because Lin Fan didn't make any changes to the original pill recipe. As for the peak-grade Raising Yuan pill's original pill recipe, Tang Ao confirmed that there were no problems. However, using that pill recipe would cause the original medicinal effects of the peak-grade Raising Yuan pill to be reduced by at least 50%, so Tang Ao abandoned it and instead modified the original pill recipe. However, the modification path clearly wasn't smooth. As soon as Tang Ao came, a problem occurred. Fortunately, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was strong, and the instant he noticed the problem, he separated the medicinal essence, preventing an irreversible mistake. But Lin Fan was different. The pill recipe Lin Fan used was the original pill recipe. This pill recipe had been determined thousands of years ago, and many pill refiners in the future had used this recipe to successfully concoct pills. After these pill refiners succeeded, they had a series of pill concoction insights. Adding on Lin Fan's wordless pill art, it was hard for Lin Fan not to succeed. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that Lin Fan was only at the 7th level of the body refining realm. Moreover, Lin Fan's soul remembrance was only slightly stronger than most 7th level body refining realm martial artists. It was far from being as strong as the other 3 pill refiners. Thus, Lin Fan's soul remembrance was somewhat lacking during pill concoction. Lin Fan was secretly anxious. This wasn't the first time he had concocted a peak grade Raising Yuan pill. It was just at this time he was close to success. However, Lin Fan never expected that something like this would happen while he was concocting pills. Adding on the fact that the time between the second and third round was too short, the soul remembrance he used up in the second round still hadn't completely recovered. Moreover, Lin Fan had neglected the soul remembrance consumption of this ancient pill art. Now, every time Lin Fan used a pill art, his sea of consciousness would slightly twitch. Lin Fan was very unwilling. This time, he was clearly about to succeed. Why did something like this happen? Different from other pill refiners, Lin Fan had a special reason for participating in the conference. Many years ago, a person abandoned his mother and son because of his innate soul remembrance, and also made Lin Fan's mother give up on Lin Fan, becoming a pill refiner. Because Lin Fan's innate soul remembrance was weak, he suffered a lot when learning pill concoction. At the beginning, Lin Fan's soul remembrance was only half of a normal martial artist's, and learning alchemy was an extremely soul remembrance-consuming matter. This caused Lin Fan to complain incessantly every time he overdrafted his soul remembrance. However, the heavens did not disappoint those who worked hard. Under Lin Fan's hard work, he finally became a qualified alchemist. After many years of training, Lin Fan's soul remembrance also grew stronger. From the beginning, he used half the soul remembrance of a martial artist of the same realm to now having a soul remembrance that was even stronger than a martial artist of the same realm. This was all due to Lin Fan's hard work. However, although Lin Fan's soul remembrance had greatly increased through long periods of cultivation, Lin Fan's soul remembrance recovery speed was still too slow. Therefore, when he was refining the supreme grade vitality nurturing pill, Lin Fan was actually feeling a little exhausted. No! Lin Fan suddenly bit the tip of his tongue. The intense pain caused Lin Fan to wake up a bit. The blood stimulation also stimulated Lin Fan's potential. The drowsiness from before had disappeared, but Lin Fan still couldn't be optimistic. Although his willpower allowed him to continue concocting pills, his soul remembrance was slowly reaching the bottom. Chapter 1474. However, what Tang Ao didn't understand was that Lin Fan's soul remembrance was very weak, and Lin Fan's energy was somewhat chaotic. All of this was a sign of overdrafting his soul remembrance. After hesitating for a moment, Tang Ao still sent his soul remembrance in Lin Fan's direction. Perhaps it was because Lin Fan had mastered the same pill arts as him, but Tang Ao didn't want Lin Fan to fail his pill concoction. Even at Lin Fan's peak state, Lin Fan couldn't detect Tang Ao's soul remembrance. With Lin Fan's current terrible state, it was even more impossible for him to detect Tang Ao's soul remembrance. Therefore, when Tang Ao's soul remembrance enveloped Lin Fan, he didn't detect it at all. Tang Ao's soul remembrance swept over Lin Fan's body, and Tang Ao was very surprised. This was because Tang Ao had already discovered that Lin Fan's constitution was a bit special. A martial artist with such a constitution was naturally very weak in soul remembrance. Lin Fan could now have the same soul remembrance as a normal martial artist, so he had clearly put in a lot of effort on his soul remembrance. However, Tang Ao quickly saw the problem. In Lin Fan's long period of cultivation, although Lin Fan's soul remembrance had greatly improved, Lin Fan's soul remembrance recovery speed clearly hadn't kept up. Just like now, after Lin Fan's soul remembrance was almost completely used up, Lin Fan's soul remembrance recovery speed couldn't even support Lin Fan's pill arts. If it was anyone else, they could only despair in this situation. Although Lin Fan didn't despair right now, he could only bitterly hold on with perseverance. There was no way to solve the problem. Lin Fan was very unwilling. He had already come this far, and Lin Fan really didn't want to be disappointed anymore. However, fate seemed to be playing a joke on him, making him naturally have a weak soul remembrance, making him a top-tier pill master's illegitimate child, making his soul remembrance recovery speed so slow even after cultivating so hard. Lin Fan didn't have any resentment, only regret and unwillingness. Concealing one's spirit and chi, empty the mind and eyes. No joy, no sorrow, no sound, no color. Just as Lin Fan was about to collapse, a chant suddenly entered his ears. This incantation was like a clear spring in a mountain stream ringing in Lin Fan's ears. Hearing this incantation, Lin Fan's soul remembrance and Yuan Qi naturally followed the special path described in the incantation. At first, Lin Fan was a little stumped, but he quickly memorized the mantra. Moreover, he started cultivating according to the description of the incantation. As he cultivated, Lin Fan shockingly discovered that his soul remembrance recovery speed had suddenly sped up. Even his Yuan Qi was rapidly circulating within his body. Looking at this scene, how could Lin Fan not know that someone was helping him from the shadows? Furthermore, Lin Fan felt that the voice was extremely familiar, as though he had heard it somewhere before. Very quickly, Lin Fan was stunned. Then, he looked in the direction of Tang Ao in disbelief. After noticing that Lin Fan was looking at him, Tang Ao smiled and nodded to Lin Fan. Junior brother Lin Fan, this is the 3-1 cycle spiritual art. You should cultivate this incantation frequently. Once you reach a certain realm, your soul remembrance recovery speed naturally won't be slower than normal pill masters. This 3-1 cycle spiritual art was one of the secret techniques that Tang Ao had collected in his previous life. However, Tang Ao's soul remembrance recovery speed was extremely fast. Because of his soul's C, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was rarely overdrawn. Therefore, although this 3-1 cycle spiritual art wasn't bad, it was extremely useless in Tang Ao's hands. Chapter 1475. But now, with the use of the 3-1 cycle spirit technique, Lin Fan's remembrance was already steadily recovering. When Lin Fan was acting strangely, everyone thought Lin Fan had encountered something strange. After all, during the process of concocting pills, anything could happen. Now that Lin Fan had completely calmed down, everyone secretly let out a sigh of relief. Currently, there were still 5 alchemists on the concocting platform. Although not every alchemist could successfully concoct a peak quality spirit cultivating pill, without a doubt, every additional alchemist that successfully concocted a peak quality spirit cultivating pill would increase the number of peak quality spirit cultivating pills circulating in the market. Although the quality of peak quality spirit cultivating pills varied, no one dared to deny the effects of peak quality spirit cultivating pills. Especially when making a breakthrough, the effects of peak quality spirit cultivating pills could not be replaced by any other pill. There were also some people speculating on peak quality spirit cultivating pills because no matter if it was high, middle, or low-level spirit cultivating pills, their prices would fluctuate at certain times. However, peak quality spirit cultivating pills were different. The number of peak quality spirit cultivating pills had always been very low. No matter how many peak quality spirit cultivating pills were produced, the entire Flying Star continent was in a state where the supply could not meet the demand. At that moment, there were still countless martial artists aimlessly waiting below the concocting platform. No one knew when Tang Ao and the others would be able to concoct the pill. However, no one chose to leave because this bit of time was really nothing to these martial artists. Also, the alchemy conference was held once every 3 years. Every 3 years, there was no pressure at all to take out this bit of free time to watch the alchemy conference. However, waiting was, after all, painful. Just waiting aimlessly like this made some impatient martial artists a bit restless. However, after a coughing sound came from the market, those restless martial artists immediately became obedient. That light cough just now instantly made some weaker martial artists feel their minds go blank, and they became momentarily absent-minded. Those martial artists who had the strength to burn money also felt their chests tighten, as if a huge hammer smashed into their chests. Although they didn't know who coughed from that light cough, everyone could already determine that this year's alchemy conference was being watched by an Origin Realm expert. When facing the horrifying existence of the Origin Realm, no matter how impatient you were, you could not disturb his mood, or else you wouldn't even know how you died. This inexplicable cough clearly gave the many idle warriors in the audience a topic to talk about. At this moment, everyone was guessing who this coughing warrior was. Just like what Tang Ao had thought, the first level of the Origin Realm was the limit for a martial artist on the Flying Star continent. Therefore, every single Origin Realm martial artist was an existence revered by everyone on the Flying Star continent. Even if he wasn't a good person, his strength would gain the support of many martial artists. In addition, although there were more or less some problems with the martial artists who were able to cultivate to the Origin Realm, there were very few evil and slanderous people. Furthermore, there were no more than 20 experts in the Origin martial realm in the entire Flying Star continent. In a hidden dragon crypt, the number of Origin realm cultivators could be counted on one hand. As far as everyone knew, the Alliance Master of the Pill Alliance, Lin Ruchong, was a martial artist in the Origin realm. Other than Lin Ruchong, there was also the head of the gold-seeking pavilion, Zhang Jijin, who was also in the Origin realm. Everyone knew those two people, but that didn't mean that they were the only two Origin realm martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Other than those two, there were at least 3 Origin realm experts in the dark. Chapter 1476. As for the members of the Golden Seeking Pavilion, other than the higher-ups of the Golden Seeking Pavilion, the lower-level members had never seen Zhang Jujin before. Although the highest cultivation level of the Flying Star Continent's martial artists was the first level of the Origin martial realm, these first-level martial artists all liked to do one thing. They didn't believe in heresy and continued to climb toward higher levels of the martial path. It had to be said that they had worked hard enough, but just like Tang Ao's initial judgment, the Flying Star Continent's energy intensity could only support martial artists to the first level of the Origin martial realm. After cultivating to the first level of the Origin martial realm, if one didn't leave the Flying Star Continent or in a very special environment, breaking through to the second level of the Origin martial realm would be an impossible task for their entire life. When there were only 5 pill refiners left on the pill refining platform, the barrier around the pill refining platform was removed. However, at this time, there naturally weren't any blind martial artists who would use soul remembrance to disturb the pill refiners on the pill refining platform. This was because at this time, Tang Ao and the others were all concocting top-quality Origin cultivating pills. Disturbing Tang Ao and the others at this time was clearly opposing the Pill Guild. However, the Pill Guild's people didn't expect that there would be an Origin martial realm expert watching this pill refining conference. Therefore, when the hidden Origin martial realm martial artist lightly coughed, Tang Ao and the others were also affected. Fortunately, Tang Ao and the others' energy was completely focused on concocting pills. Therefore, even if they were slightly disturbed, they didn't make any mistakes. Although the concocting pills didn't make any mistakes, Tang Ao was a bit unhappy in his heart. When Tang Ao was concocting pills, no matter what happened, Tang Ao didn't want to be disturbed by others. Although the hidden martial artist lightly coughed just to calm the noisy crowd, Tang Ao's soul remembrance still followed his aura and swept over. Soon after, Tang Ao found a martial artist selling beast meat on the street not far away. This martial artist looked like a butcher, and in front of him was a large table. At this moment, on his table, there were pieces of beast meat laid out one by one. The meat of monster beasts was a delicacy to cultivators, and, at the same time, it was also a great tonic. Hence, many warriors entered Evergreen Valley to hunt demonic beasts and sell their meat as a way to make a living. This butcher was clearly one of them. If Tang Ao didn't see him when he followed his aura, it would be very hard for Tang Ao to believe that a butcher who sold meat was an expert of the Origin realm. However, the truth was right in front of him, and Tang Ao had to believe it. Tang Ao's soul remembrance circled the butcher's table. Tang Ao discovered that the butcher's table had 3 to 9-star demon beast meat on it. Although the variety was complete, perhaps because of the high price, not many people came to his business. Even so, he was not angry. Moreover, Tang Ao also saw that when people went to sell meat, he also had a smiling appearance. He was completely like a peddler selling meat, and didn't have the demeanor of a peak-level expert of the Origin Realm at all. Just now, Tang Ao was still a bit angry, but now that he saw his appearance, Tang Ao instantly lost his temper. Even so, Tang Ao still didn't decide to let this guy off easily. When Tang Ao's soul remembrance was monitoring him, Luo Mo once again swept his soul remembrance out. After feeling his soul remembrance, Tang Ao was silently shocked. Tang Ao was originally a first-level expert of the life and death realm. Because of his continuous injuries, Tang Ao's soul and spirit seas were both completely shattered. Chapter 1477. He didn't know what kind of special cultivation method this beast meat seller cultivated, or what kind of special opportunity he had. He was merely an Origin Martial Realm first-level warrior, but his soul remembrance was no weaker than a first-level Sea of Souls realm. In other words, if he wanted to, the entire dragon subduing market would be under his control at all times. If Tang Ao's soul sea wasn't shattered, Tang Ao could do this easily. And because of his soul sea, even if Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to cover the entire dragon subduing market, his soul remembrance wouldn't be consumed much. However, Tang Ao felt that his soul remembrance compared to Luo Mo's soul remembrance. Although his soul remembrance was nimble and hidden, it didn't have the overbearing aura of Luo Mo's soul remembrance. From Ming Di's inherited memories, Tang Ao knew that soul remembrance could be used as an offensive method. However, back then, Ming Di didn't find a suitable method to train soul remembrance, so Ming Di never used his soul remembrance as an offensive method. However, after Tang Ao saw this Luo Mo, Tang Ao was sure that Luo Mo's soul remembrance could really be used as an offensive method. Moreover, his light cough just now wasn't from using energy to injure everyone, but a soul remembrance attack. With this discovery, Tang Ao was even more interested in this Luo Mo previously. Tang Ao wanted to go to Evergreen Valley alone, but now Tang Ao planned on finding a few helpers. This meat seller Luo Mo was clearly a very good choice. Although Tang Ao's soul remembrance was also very powerful. Before Tang Ao repaired his soul sea, Luo Mo's soul remembrance was stronger than Tang Ao's. Since they were going to Evergreen Valley to search for treasures, a powerful soul remembrance was necessary. Other than a powerful soul remembrance, one also needed powerful strength. Tang Ao's cultivation didn't need to be high, but Tang Ao was very satisfied with Luo Mo's cultivation. Under Tang Ao's perception, although Luo Mo's cultivation hadn't reached the peak of the first level of the Origin Martial Realm, he had passed the initial stage of the Origin Martial Realm. Although he wanted to invite Luo Mo, Tang Ao didn't immediately invite Luo Mo. When Tang Ao was observing Luo Mo, Tang Ao noticed that Luo Mo's soul remembrance swept over him. Tang Ao laughed to himself and thought of a phrase. Back then, when you stared into the abyss stared back at you. When you didn't stare into the abyss stared back at you. When Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to observe Luo Mo didn't know anything. However, although Luo Mo's soul remembrance was much stronger than Tang Ao's, Tang Ao was still able to detect Luo Mo's soul remembrance immediately. Luo used soul remembrance to detect him, so Tang Ao knew that Luo was Luo soul remembrance. Of the abilities that Tang Ao displayed, only Tang Ao's pill concoction abilities were worth mentioning. Tang Ao was worried that he wouldn't be able to talk to Luo Mo. Since Luo Mo needed his help, it wouldn't be difficult for him to cooperate with Luo Mo. Pill Master Tang Ao, I am Luo Mo. Do you know how to concoct ice remembrance pills? Just as Tang Ao was wondering why Luo Mo was looking for him, Luo Mo's voice suddenly rang in Tang Ao's ear. Chapter 1478. The Ice Thought Pill only had one use, and that was to keep one's mind clear. Due to cultivation, the power of the soul was very strong. Very rarely would there be times when one's mind was not clear. However, the ice thought pill was a type of pill that allowed a martial artist to keep their mind clear. It was also a 9-star pill. Naturally, it was very unpopular. If Luo Mo didn't mention the ice thought pill, it was very possible that Tang Ao would never concoct such a pill in his life, nor would he have any thoughts of concocting such a pill. There was no other reason. The ice thought pill's use was limited, and it was not easy to preserve. Most of the pills only needed to be sealed in a jade bottle, and there would be no problem in keeping it for tens or hundreds of years. However, the ice thought pill was different. After the ice thought pill was concocted, it had to be used within an hour. If it was not used after an hour, it would become a useless pill. In other words, the pill needed to be concocted on the spot and then used in time. However, Tang Ao could not think of a place where such a pill would be used. Alchemist Tang Ao can really concoct the ice thought pill. Although Tang Ao's attitude was a bit cold, after hearing that Tang Ao could concoct the ice thought pill, Luo Mo's eyes lit up. He did not mind Tang Ao's attitude at all. Before finding Tang Ao, Luo Mo had already found tens of famous alchemists. However, those guys disappointed Luo Mo too much. Each of their fame was bigger than the other, but not many people knew about the ice thought pill, let alone concocting it. Later on, Luo Mo found the Vice Alliance Master of the Alchemy Alliance, Di Wenming. Although Di Wenming could concoct the ice thought pill, his success rate was pitifully low. It was not even 10%. Even if Di Wenming had a 30% success rate, Luo Mo would still be willing to bring Di Wenming to take a risk. However, Di Wenming only had a 10% success rate. Luo Mo was not prepared to bring Di Wenming to die there. It was a strange place that Luo Mo found in the Evergreen Valley. Luo Mo only wandered around the edges and obtained quite a few treasures. Luo Mo always wanted to search deeper. However, what made Luo Mo helpless was that the remains were filled with a hallucinatory mist. Even an Origin Realm martial artist like him would fall for it. Last time, he was lucky enough to survive because he had a drop of ice crystal dew on him. Even so, Luo Mo still wanted to explore it. Originally, Luo Mo wanted to collect some ice crystal dew and carry it with him. However, the ice crystal dew was obviously not that easy to obtain. Ever since he obtained a drop of ice crystal dew many years ago, he had not seen the shadow of the ice crystal dew for many years. Fortunately, after asking around, he found out about the ice thought pill. However, compared to the ice crystal dew, a heaven and earth oddity, the ice thought pill had too many restrictions. If he wanted to rely on the ice thought pill to explore the ruins, he would need to bring along a top alchemy master. Moreover, this top-notch alchemy grandmaster must be under his control, because after entering the ruins, his life would be in the hands of the other party. If he couldn't control the other party, then Luo Mo felt that it wouldn't be a treasure hunt, but a death wish. For example, if he brought Lin Ruchong in, he wouldn't be bringing Lin Ruchong to search for treasures, but he would be risking his life to run errands for Lin Ruchong. Among the group of alchemists that Luo Mo selected, Di Wenming was the most suitable. Di Wenming's character was obvious to all. His cultivation at the peak of the 9th level of the body refinement realm would not drag him down at all. Furthermore, the cultivation at the peak of the 9th level of the body refinement realm was also within his control. However, Di Wenming's success rate was too low. Even if he brought Di Wenming over, he didn't dare to explore too deeply. Moreover, it would expose the location of the ruins. Chapter 1479. Apothecary Tang Ao cough. Just as Luo Mo was about to talk to Tang Ao, a light cough came out of nowhere. This cough was exactly the same as when Luo Mo attacked the crowd. However, before, it was Luo Mo who had coughed to calm the crowd, but this time, it was someone who had coughed to warn him. What was special was that this cough could only be heard by Tang Ao and Luo Mo. The others did not seem to be affected at all. Peak level 1 Yuan martial realm. With just a slight sense, Tang Ao had already figured out the cultivation of the person who had coughed. And from this chi, Tang Ao recognized it. It was indeed the leader of the Dan Guild, Lin Ruchong. Before, when Lin Ruchong was talking to Tang Ao, because Lin Ruchong did not release his chi, Tang Ao could only sense that he was an Yuan martial realm warrior. But right then, after Lin Ruchong had released his Yuan chi, Tang Ao immediately realized that Lin Ruchong was not only an Yuan martial realm warrior, but also a peak level 1 Yuan martial realm warrior. If it were in some other high-level continents, Yuan martial realm warriors would only be SOSO. But in the Flying Star continent, where there was no spirit chi at all, Yuan martial realm warriors would already be the top warriors. Although warriors could absorb and train Yuan chi as well, Yuan chi and spirit chi were not on the same level. Above the spirit chi, there was still the immortal spirit chi. Compared to the immortal spirit chi, the spirit chi would be overshadowed as well. According to Tang Ao's knowledge, a warrior could only train to peak level astral reaching realm using spirit chi, and that would be the limit. Therefore, in his previous life, when Tang Ao trained to peak level 9 astral reaching realm, he would feel like he had reached the end of his training. Plus, in his previous life, Tang Ao had mastered the hidden Jade body art and the mysterious heaven art, which made him unbeatable. Therefore, Tang Ao did not have the thought of continuing to climb. In the end, he was unbeatable and lonely. In this life, Tang Ao's life had become a lot more interesting, and there were a lot of things that he could not let go of. Inadvertently, Tang Ao recalled the lively and beautiful girl La Kale who played with him all day long in the Seven Kills sect. Back when they parted ways in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, Tang Ao had completely lost contact with La Kale. According to Yin Xiaoyao, it was a good thing that La Kale had fallen into a crack in the void and entered a higher plane of existence. Back then, Tang Ao also thought that it was a good thing to be able to enter a higher plane under those circumstances. But now, Tang Ao didn't think so. Unlike La Kale, he didn't go to a higher plane. Instead, he went to a lower plane. As a result, he had to struggle to survive. The places that La Kale went to might have the legendary immortal spirit energy, but the enemies that La Kale would encounter would also be terrifyingly strong. Other than La Kale, and Ruosu had also gone to a higher plane. At the thought of this, Tang Ao felt a deep sense of helplessness. La Kale and Ruosu were too far away from Tang Ao. Chu Xuahan, who was closest to Tang Ao, could not be saved by Tang Ao now. For a moment, Tang Ao felt an unstoppable wave of sorrow. However, it was a cool and gentle feeling that flowed through Tang Ao's body, easing Tang Ao's sorrowful emotions. In Tang Ao's body, the Jade Bone Life Spirit was obediently circulating the energy for Tang Ao. The cool and refreshing feeling earlier was obviously due to the Jade Bone Life Spirit. At this point, Tang Ao smiled knowingly. Among all the life spirits that he had awakened, although each life spirit had its own intelligence, the Jade Bone Life Spirit was obviously more intelligent than the others. Chapter 1480. At that moment, 7 of the 9 Emperor Jade platforms were floating in the air. On 2 of the Emperor Jade platforms, 2 life souls were floating quietly. One of them was Tang Ao's Battle Sage Bone Life Soul. However, at that moment, the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul was extremely dim. It was no longer as dazzling and full of fighting spirit as when Tang Ao had awakened it. With the shattering of Tang Ao's Soul Sea, although the Emperor Jade platform was intact, Tang Ao's life soul was still damaged. When Tang Ao's gaze swept past the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul, the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul seemed to sense it and flashed a faint brilliance in response. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao felt very sad. Back when he had awakened the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul, his fighting spirit was monstrous and he was fearless. He was not as restrained as he was now. On the first Emperor Jade platform, the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul floated quietly, while on the second Emperor Jade platform, there were 7 dull long swords hovering. These 7 long swords were Tang Ao's Green Lotus Sword Soul. They were extremely sharp. However, at that moment, the Green Lotus Sword Soul no longer gave off the feeling of unparalleled sharpness. Tang Ao could only feel a sense of old age from the Green Lotus Sword Soul. In the soul sea below, there were still many life souls in a deep sleep. Like a blood dragon, the blood battle dragon soul was sleeping quietly in the soul sea. When Tang Ao's psyche swept past it, it could only send a very weak response to Tang Ao. Clearly, it was extremely weak at that moment. Apart from the blood battle dragon soul, there was also the world overlord axe soul. Tang Ao remembered that the world overlord axe soul had the strength to uproot mountains and look down on the world. However, at that moment, it was like a rusty axe, dispirited and listless. At that moment, in the soul sea, the most lively life soul was the Jade Bone life soul. It was different from other life souls. The other life souls were connected to Tang Ao's life. When Tang Ao was seriously injured, the other life souls were also seriously injured. Tang Ao's cultivation hadn't recovered for a day, and the rest of his life souls were in a dispirited state. However, the Jade Bone Vitality life soul was different. After Tang Ao was heavily injured, the Jade Bone Vitality life soul was also heavily injured. However, the Jade Bone Vitality life soul could repair itself. Although the recovery speed wasn't fast, it could do many things for Tang Ao after such a long time. At that moment, Tang Ao was surprised to see the Jade Bone life soul leap towards the third Emperor Jade platform. Seeing this, Tang Ao was shocked. After his 9 dragons, Emperor Jade body had awakened. His body had been divided into Yin and Yang. Yang was the spiritual sea, and Yin was the soul sea. 9 Emperor Jade platforms were built in the soul sea. The Battle Sage Bone Life Soul and the Azure Lotus Sword Soul flew onto the Emperor Jade platforms with incomparable sharpness. Back then, the Jade Bone Life Soul had tried many times, but it was unable to climb up the Emperor Jade platform and become a life soul on the Emperor Jade platform. What Tang Ao didn't expect was that the previous failures didn't make the Jade Bone Life Soul give up. This time, the Jade Bone Life Soul launched another attack on the Emperor Jade platform. Under the impact of the Jade Bone Life Soul, Tang Ao's broken soul sea also trembled violently. Chapter 1481. If it had been any other time, Tang Ao would not have stopped the Jade Bone Life Soul from attacking the Emperor Jade platform. However, Tang Ao was refining the essence of the 100 Flower Fruits medicinal liquid. At this time, Tang Ao's psyche was controlling the alchemy fire to refine the 100 Flower Fruit. He could not spare any psyche for the Jade Bone Life Soul. Therefore, Tang Ao hurriedly conveyed his thoughts to the Jade Bone Life Soul. However, Tang Ao was still a little worried if the Jade Bone Life Soul could understand him. Fortunately, the Jade Bone Life Soul's intelligence was not bad. After Tang Ao conveyed his thoughts, the Jade Bone Life Soul was stunned for a moment before calming down. Clearly, it also felt that Tang Ao was not in a good state. After it stopped, the Jade Bone Life Soul turned into countless emerald light spots and fused into Tang Ao's limbs and bones. In an instant, a warm feeling swept through Tang Ao's body. Tang Ao felt as if all the fatigue in his body had been swept away at this moment. After feeling this shocking change, Tang Ao was extremely shocked. He hurriedly used his psyche to look inside his body. Then, Tang Ao saw that the Jade Bone Life Soul had just hit the Emperor Jade platform, and a tiny crack had appeared. At this moment, the Jade Bone Life Soul was jumping outside the crack, greedily absorbing the pure soul power that leaked out from the crack. Of course, it was not the Jade Bone Life Soul that had smashed Tang Ao's Emperor Jade platform. It was the Jade Bone Life Soul that had knocked out the soul power essence sealed in the Emperor Jade platform. Although it was only a trace, the Jade Bone Life Soul was rapidly recovering. Tang Ao knew that the Emperor Jade platform had soul power essence sealed in it. The Battle Sage Bone Life Soul and Green Lotus Sword Soul had instantly advanced from their original grades to the 29th firmament life soul because they had devoured the soul power essence of the Emperor Jade platform. However, Tang Ao's cultivation was limited and he was heavily injured. Therefore, the life soul that Tang Ao had awakened looked dispirited. Only the Jade Bone life soul, with its self-healing ability, was recovering well. It was the most active life soul among Tang Ao's many life souls. Just now, the Jade Bone life soul had extracted the soul power essence from the Emperor Jade platform, allowing it to recover a little. Previously, the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul was only equivalent to a 9th Firmament Life Soul, but now, the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul had recovered to the 11th Firmament. Seeing this, Tang Ao was secretly delighted, but it was a pity that the Jade Bone Life Soul had shattered the Emperor Jade platform's barrier, and after the barrier was restored, there would naturally be no more soul power essence seeping out. Seeing this, Tang Ao was secretly delighted. It was a pity that the Jade Bone Life Soul had shattered the Emperor Jade platform's barrier. After the barrier was restored, there would naturally be no more soul power essence seeping out. At this moment, there was no doubt that Tang Ao was in a special situation. At this time, it was very good to extract the soul power essence from the Emperor Jade platform and restore the Jade Bone Life Soul to its peak. Now, Tang Ao did not even have the ability to protect himself. Once the Jade Bone Life Soul was restored to its peak, the Jade Bone Life Soul would be able to restore some of Tang Ao's other life souls. Now, Tang Ao did not need all his life souls to be restored to their peak. He only needed the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul and Green Lotus Sword Soul to be restored to the 13th Firmament. Then, Tang Ao could use this to teach the Origin Martial Realm warriors a lesson. Chapter 1482. Although the Jade Bone Life Spirit was unable to completely shatter the barrier of the Emperor Jade platform and become the main life spirit of the Emperor Jade platform. However, the Jade Bone Life Spirit could shatter the Emperor Jade platform and devour the soul power essence leaked from the Emperor Jade platform to recover itself. Right now, Tang Ao was still in the alchemy conference, so Tang Ao wouldn't do this kind of thing. However, after the alchemy conference ended, Tang Ao could find a secluded place to do this. As long as Tang Ao's battle, Saint Bone Life Spirit and Green Lotus Sword Soul could recover to the 13th level, then if Tang Ao didn't go looking for an old monster like Shiryunyan to die, Tang Ao should still be invincible in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Even if he couldn't crush the Origin Martial Realm warriors, they still couldn't do anything to Tang Ao. Normally, the Origin Martial Realm warriors in the Hidden Dragon Crypt would awaken life spirits of the 11th or 12th level. As for life spirits above the 12th level, Tang Ao hadn't seen them yet. So, as long as Tang Ao's battle Saint Bone Life Spirit could recover to the 13th level, then the warriors in the Hidden Dragon Crypt wouldn't even be able to break the defense of Tang Ao's battle Saint Bone Life Spirit, let alone injure Tang Ao. Thinking of this, Tang Ao was secretly excited. Tang Ao really didn't expect the Jade Bone Life Spirit to help him so much by accident. But even so, if Tang Ao could use the Alchemy Guild's resources to snowball, Tang Ao was still unwilling to overdraft the soul power essence in the Emperor Jade platform in advance, because the Jade Bone Life Spirit was only at the 21st level at its peak. This level of life spirit could barely make do in the Spirit Sea realm and the early life and death realm. But after reaching the late life and death realm, this level of life spirit was very weak. So, unless it was absolutely necessary, Tang Ao still wanted to preserve the soul power essence in the Emperor Jade platform. The Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul was immeasurable to him. Tang Ao naturally wanted to raise the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul to the 29th firmament through the Emperor Jade platform. However, if Tang Ao could not use the resources of the Dan Alliance to quickly accumulate cultivation resources, Tang Ao could only use this helpless method. At this moment, Tang Ao and the other four were still concocting pills on the alchemy platform. It had been almost a day since the other alchemist had left. However, after a day had passed, None of Tang Ao's group of 5 showed any signs of failure or signs of pill concoction. On the other hand, the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion's head alchemist Lu Yuan had used up too much soul remembrance, so he copied Tang Ao and sat down cross-legged. As he concocted pills, he silently recovered his soul remembrance. In addition to Lu Yuan, who had sat down in a lotus position, Gong Yangjiu also sat down in a lotus position. Although Gong Yangjiu had sat down in a lotus position, Gong Yangjiu's golden staff was still stirring the pill furnace under his control. When Tang Ao saw Gong Yangjiu's method of concocting pills, he was really speechless. However, Tang Ao did not deny Gong Yangjiu's method of concocting pills. There is no fixed method, but the important thing was the method. The most important thing in concocting pills was to concoct pills, and the pills that were concocted could be used. It did not depend on whether the alchemist's posture during the process was handsome or not. Although concocting pills with alchemy techniques looked quite handsome, if alchemy techniques were useless, Tang Ao would not deliberately use alchemy techniques. Chapter 1483. On the other side, ever since Lin Fan learned Tang Ao's 3-1 cycle spirit art, the problem of slow soul remembrance recovery was solved. However, because Lin Fan was still using that ancient and complicated pill art, his pill concoction speed was still incredibly slow. Although none of the 5 pill masters on the pill concoction platform had successfully concocted a peak grade raising vitality pill, the surrounding audience members were getting more and more excited. Normally, if a pill master tried to concoct a peak grade raising vitality pill without any real skills, they would easily fail. Because of this, when concocting pills, no pill master overestimated themselves and chose a peak grade raising vitality pill. Because if he chose the essence cultivating pill and ended up being quickly eliminated when he was refining the essence cultivating pill, it would be too shameful as an alchemist. So even though there were pill masters who shamelessly chose a high-grade raising vitality pill, they still failed in the end. None of the pill masters overestimated themselves and chose a peak-grade raising vitality pill. If they tried to concoct a peak-grade raising vitality pill without some skill, they would only be seeking death. Now, the 5 pill masters on the pill concoction platform were still concocting pills. At this time, it could be said that the longer they lasted, the easier it was to succeed. 5 pill masters concocting a peak grade raising vitality pill at the same time, and not a single pill master failed after a day. This was very rare in the conference. In the previous alchemy conference, there were only 2 alchemists left who managed to concoct a supreme grade vitality nurturing pill. However, after a day, both alchemists failed. Of course, on the pill concoction platform, there were examples of pill masters successfully concocting peak grade raising vitality pills. According to the known records, the fastest alchemist to refine a supreme grade vitality augmenting pill had spent 3 days to refine a supreme grade vitality augmenting pill. So the selection was only on the first day. Passing the first day only increased the chances of success, but it didn't mean that all 5 had succeeded. Of course, according to Tang Ao's words, concocting pills didn't have a fixed time. Until the moment the pill was formed, anything could happen. However, as time went on, Tang Ao found that he really didn't understand the peak grade raising vitality pill enough. At the beginning, Tang Ao felt that he could concoct a peak grade raising vitality pill in a day. But after a day, not a single pill master had succeeded. Of course, if Tang Ao chose to fuse the essence of the medicinal liquid and condense it into a pill, then Tang Ao could refine a top-grade essence augmenting pill within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. However, Tang Ao would not be satisfied with a top-grade essence augmenting pill like this. This was because under Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance control, Tang Ao had already purified the 100-flower fruit to 97% purity. In Emperor Shenong's notes, Emperor Shenong said that purifying the 100-flower fruit to 96% purity was the limit of a spirit pill master. Tang Ao was now a level 6 spirit pill master who purified the 100-flower fruit to 97% purity. This didn't mean that Shin Nong Emperor's notes were wrong, but because Tang Ao's existence had surpassed the limit of pill master. Chapter 1484. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. In these 3 days, the 5 alchemists on the alchemy platform seemed to be in a daze. Even Lin Fan, who had been clapping his hands, had quietened down. At this moment, the 5 of them were quietly sitting next to their cauldrons, quietly waiting for their pills to be refined. In the past, everyone only knew that supreme grade essence cultivating pills were precious. For many alchemists, this was their first time witnessing the entire refining process. According to previous alchemy conferences, if one did not fail after 3 days, then the chances of refining a supreme grade essence cultivating pill would increase to 50%. It could be said that if no mistakes were made, at least 2 or even 3 of the 5 alchemists on the alchemy platform will be able to refine a supreme grade essence cultivating pill. As time passed, some cultivators couldn't wait any longer and left. However, there were even more people who heard that there were still 5 alchemists refining top-grade soul augmenting pills in this Grand Alchemy Conference. So, they immediately rushed over. 5 alchemists concocting a supreme-grade essence augmenting pill on the same stage could be considered a grand event that was rarely seen in decades. Most importantly, these 5 alchemists had already been concocting supreme-grade essence augmenting pills on the alchemy stage for 3 days. In other words, if there were no accidents, many people would be able to see an alchemist successfully concoct a supreme-grade essence augmenting pill if they rushed over now. As the news spread, more and more alchemists rushed to the alchemy platform. The alchemy plaza, which was already crowded, was now filled with people. However, although there were so many martial artists on the plaza, it was unusually quiet. Everyone was worried that they would disturb the alchemists refining pills. After 3 days of refining a supreme grade essence cultivating pill, there was a very special period. In all the past alchemy conferences, all the essence nurturing pills that were successfully refined were produced after 3 days of refinement. Many cultivators had never even seen a peak grade essence cultivating pill before. As long as they stayed, not only would they be able to see the peak grade essence cultivating pill, but they would also be able to witness the entire refining process of the peak grade essence cultivating pill. Many cultivators were willing to stay because if this matter were to spread out, it would be something worth showing off. After all, to be able to personally see an alchemist refine a supreme grade essence cultivating pill might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Although the lifespan of a martial artist was very long, the number of martial artists who died of natural causes was less than 10% of all the martial artists who died. Most of the martial artists died in the process of cultivation. Therefore, he was very fortunate to be able to witness such a grand event in his lifetime. Elder Sister Shun, according to the previous alchemy conferences, as long as 3 days pass, the success rate of refining a top-grade vitality augmenting pill will be at least 50%. Among the 5 alchemists present, which alchemist does Elder Sister Shun think has the highest chance of successfully refining a superior grade essence cultivating pill? Is it Tang Ao? Xia Kaiyun looked at the 5 people on the stage with interest. As the Rosy Cloud Elixir Dispensary was in the Crouching Dragon Market, it was Xia Kaiyun's 3rd time watching the alchemy conference. However, in the previous 2 alchemy conferences, the alchemists who refined the supreme grade vitality enhancing pill failed very quickly. Hence, Xia Kaiyun did not have much hope for this year's alchemy conference, especially after seeing that Wang Kun, the successor disciple of the Alchemy Guild's leader, Lin Ruchong, only chose the high-grade vitality enhancing pill. Xia Kaiyun felt that there should not be any alchemists who refined the supreme grade vitality enhancing pill in this year's alchemy conference. Chapter 1485. Although Xia Kaiyun didn't know that Lu Yuan was going to refine a supreme grade essence cultivating pill, she knew that Lu Yuan's success rate was extremely low. Under the Rosy Cloud Pellet Pavilion's full nurturing, Lu Yuan's success rate in refining top-grade essence augmenting pills was only around 20%. Therefore, without knowing the other pill refiner's abilities, Xia Kaiyun felt that her family's pill refiner really didn't have much hope. Just like Xia Kaiyun, Shen Luoli thought for a moment, then said the chief pill refiner of the 9-colored Deer Chamber of Commerce. Shen Luoli was aware that Gong Yangjiu wanted to refine a supreme grade vitality augmenting pill. Moreover, Gong Yangjiu had his own unique methods when refining a supreme grade vitality augmenting pill. When refining a supreme grade vitality augmenting pill in the 9-colored Deer Merchant Guild, Gong Yangjiu's success rate barely reached 40%. Moreover, refining a supreme grade essence cultivating pill took the most time. So if Gong Yangjiu didn't fail after 3 days, it could be said that as long as Gong Yangjiu didn't make any major mistakes, then this furnace of supreme grade essence cultivating pill will be completed by Gong Yangjiu. However, Shen Luoli wasn't sure about this. There were exceptions to everything, and when it came to refining pills, not only were there exceptions, it was also easy for accidents to occur. So after some consideration, Shen Luoli said, I feel that Pill Master Gong Yangjiu's success rate is slightly higher, and after Pill Master Gong Yangjiu is Alchemy Alliance's Elder Zhui. Elder Zhui has always been known for his steadiness in refining pills, and the longer he refines pills, the higher the success rate. After such a long time, Elder Zhui's success in refining pills can be said to be in the bag. Shen Luoli paused for a moment, then continued. As for that alchemist called Lin Fan, his condition wasn't very good on the first day, and he's still refining now. I don't know what's going on either. After all, if I were to refine the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill myself, the success rate would be less than 10%. As for Pill Master Lu Yuan and Pill Master Tang Ao of the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion, I feel that they both have a chance of success, but the success rate shouldn't be very high. Miss Shen's words are wrong. I feel that among the 5 pill refiners, the one most likely to succeed is Pill Refiner Tang Ao. At that moment, the person who spoke was a young man in white with a folding fan in his hand. This young man in white did not appear here a few days ago. This time, when he passed by the Crouching Dragon Market, he heard that there were 5 alchemists refining supreme grade essence fostering pills here. So he deliberately came to join in the fun. Originally, Shen Luoli's seat was already full of people, but after Zhang Zifen arrived, the young man who was originally sitting next to Shen Luoli tactfully moved aside. Although Zhang Zifen wouldn't do anything to him if he didn't move, since he had already moved his seat away, Zhang Zifen naturally sat down without hesitation. Although the people sitting in the VIP seats were all prominent figures, they often came into contact with each other due to the forces behind them. But among these people, Zhang Zifen was definitely an exception. That was because Zhang Zifen did not dare to be interested in these people at all, and Zhang Zifen made friends with people of all levels. Chapter 1486. In this villa, Zhang Zifen kept thousands of idlers. As long as they were willing to come to Idler Villa, Zhang Zifen would not reject them. Because of this, Zhang Zifen had quite a reputation in the dragon-subduing crypt and the Phaeacian continent. Many martial artists would address Zhang Zifen respectfully as young master when they saw him. Zhang Zifen was close to people from all walks of life, so he naturally did not see eye to eye with this group of spoiled brats from major forces. Of course, only those spoiled brats didn't see eye to eye with Zhang Zifen. The younger generations of major forces with some ability all felt that Zhang Zifen was very interesting. Shen Luoli's impression of Zhang Zifen was neither good nor bad. If she didn't bring the heavy young pill back this time, Zhang Zifen would also be one of her many marriage partners. If it really came to that, Shen Luoli could only choose Zhang Zifen. Although Zhang Zifen was a forthright person, no one had seen him with a partner until now. Miss Shen, Zhang Zifen waved his hand in front of Shen Luoli. What made Zhang Zifen speechless was that after he told Shen Luoli that Tang Ao alchemy had the highest chance of success, Shen Luoli didn't say anything. This made Zhang Zifan feel very awkward. Shun also came back to her senses. In order to avoid embarrassment, Shun continued Zhang Zifan's words. This time, Alchemist Tang Ao made everyone's eyes light up. In the first round of the competition, he identified all 81 types of spirit herbs. This is very rare in the alchemy conference. And in the second round, Alchemist Tang Ao even refined the most difficult 9-star spirit pill, the Heavy Yang pill. This is enough to show that Alchemist Tang Ao's alchemy ability is extraordinary. However, although the essence cultivation pill is also a type of pill, it is different from most pills. Some alchemists may be very good at refining other pills, but they're slightly weaker at refining the essence cultivation pill. There are also some alchemists who only study the essence cultivation pill for their entire life and don't even know how to refine other pills. Unfortunately, the pill master Gong Yang Jiao who came with me this time is also a pill master who concentrates on researching the peak gray vitality cultivation pill. So, I think that the probability of pill master Gong Yang Jiao successfully refining the pill is slightly higher than that of Tang Ao. After thinking for a while, Shunluoli voiced out her thoughts. After hearing what Shunluoli said, Zhang Zifan patted the folding fan in his hand, then smiled and said, "Miss Shun, how about we make a bet? If pill refiner Tang Ao fails, and pill refiner Gong Yang Jiao succeeds, I will give Shunluoli and Gu Ninji 6 special grade vitality cultivating pills. If Alchemist Tang Ao succeeds in concocting the elixir and Alchemist Tang Ao fails, then Miss Shunluoli will accompany Alchemist Tang Ao to play for a day. How about it?" After hearing Zhang Zifan's bet, Shunluoli's pretty face immediately blushed, and she secretly said angrily in her heart, "Who asks a girl to play with others for a day?" After calming down, Shunluoli opened her mouth and said, "Could it be that this pill refiner Tang Ao is also an idler raised by your idle mountain villa?" "That's not it. I didn't know pill refiner Tang Ao before this, which is a big pity. After the alchemy conference ends, I will definitely go and get acquainted with pill refiner Tang Ao. Does Miss Shun agree to this bet?" Zhang Zifan said as he looked at Shunluoli with a smile that wasn't a smile. Seeing Zhang Zifan's expression, the surrounding young men wanted to go up and beat this shameless person up. Chapter 1487. With this kind of bet, even if young master wins, I'll just be accompanying pill master Tang Ao to play. It doesn't seem to be any benefit to young master. Shunluoli had heard a bit about Zhang Zifan's personality. When talking to Zhang Zifan, Shunluoli could only pull a long face. Otherwise, Shunluoli wouldn't be able to say something like this. "Ha ha ha. So Lady Shunluoli agrees?" Zhang Zifan didn't explain what benefits this bet would bring him, but instead immediately asked. Shunluoli gritted her teeth and said, "What if pill master Tang Ao and pill master Gong Yang Jiao both concocted extreme gray vitality cultivating pills? If alchemy master Tang Ao and alchemy master Gong Yang Jiao both managed to refine a top grade vitality augmenting pill, then the one who refined the higher grade vitality augmenting pill would be the winner. Lady Shin wants to bet with me?" As Zhang Zifan spoke, he waved his fan. At the same time, a golden light that even Soul Remembrance couldn't detect flashed in Zhang Zifan's eyes. Zhang Zifan's golden eye was called Spirit Eye, and some people called it Golden Eye. It was a special eye in the world, just like Tang Ao's Heavenly Polar Eye. However, it was different from Tang Ao's Heavenly Polar Eye. Tang Ao's Heavenly Polar Eye was mainly used for fighting, while Zhang Zifan's Golden Eye was more of a support type. For example, after Zhang Zifan used Golden Eye, he could see other people's thoughts and emotions to a certain extent. Just now, Zhang Zifan used Golden Eye to look at the 5 pill masters on the pill concoction platform. Among the 5 pill masters, Zhang Zifan only saw confidence in Tang Ao. From Tang Ao's emotions, Zhang Zifan could feel that Tang Ao was very confident in his ability to refine the best quality essence augmenting pellet. Words could lie and eyes could be wrong. but Zhang Zifen firmly believed that what Huang Jintong saw must be right. Moreover, these years of experience told Zhang Zifen that his golden eye had never disappointed him. At this moment, although there were still 5 alchemists on the alchemy platform, among these 5, other than Tang Ao, the other 4 were not sure if they could successfully concoct a supreme-grade essence-cultivating pill. In fact, every one of them even had a sliver of hope in their hearts. He hoped that he could persevere and succeed in the end. Zhang Zifen felt that this kind of thinking was a little funny, but also a little weak. He was the one who was refining the elixir, but he didn't believe that he could successfully refine it. If that was the case, then the elixir refined in this way would be too unreliable. After a casual smile, Zhang Zifen didn't care about these things anymore. With the golden pupils, he was born to see many things that others couldn't. If he cared about everything, his life would be too tiring. Tang Ao was originally concentrating on refining the medicinal liquid essence of the 100-flower fruit on the alchemy platform. Under Tang Ao's unremitting efforts, Tang Ao made great progress. The medicinal liquid essence of the 100-flower fruit was purified to 98%, and it was still approaching 99%. However, at this moment, Tang Ao discovered that someone seemed to be spying on him. Moreover, the method was very clever. Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to scan a few times, but didn't discover anything. Tang Ao clicked his tongue in wonder. It had always been him using soul remembrance to scout others. This time, someone actually dared to secretly scout him. Thinking of this, Tang Ao instantly opened Heavenly Extreme pupils. Heavenly Extreme pupils were pupils that could see through heaven and earth, eyes of heaven and earth. After Tang Ao opened Heavenly Extreme pupils, everything around him immediately became incomparably clear in Tang Ao's eyes. Soon after, Tang Ao discovered that a mysterious golden light was scouting over from the VIP seats. Tang Ao raised his head and saw a white-clothed young master holding a folding fan. Even with Tang Ao's aesthetics, he had to admit that this white-clothed young master was handsome. Most importantly, Tang Ao saw 2 golden lights in this white-clothed young master's pupils. These 2 golden lights couldn't be seen with the naked eye, and soul remembrance couldn't detect them either. Only with Heavenly Extreme pupils could one detect them. Tang Ao silently thought that it was interesting. With these characteristics, Tang Ao quickly recognized this pupil. There are many other pupils in this world. For example, Tang Ao's Heavenly Extreme pupils that focused on attacking and scouting was a type of other pupil. This white-clothed young master's golden pupil was also a type of other pupil. Chapter 1488. Tang Ao felt Zhang Zifen used the golden pupil to examine him, but Zhang Zifen didn't notice Tang Ao's Heavenly Extreme pupil watching him. Compared to the golden pupil, Tang Ao's Heavenly Extreme pupil was much more hidden. If he wasn't in an attacking state, others wouldn't be able to notice Tang Ao had Heavenly Extreme pupil. When Heavenly Extreme pupil was in an attacking state, the energy fluctuations would be too intense, so it would attract others' attention. However, if Heavenly Extreme pupil was only used to observe, it would be as natural as the naked eye. Normal people wouldn't be able to notice that Tang Ao was using Heavenly Extreme pupil to observe them. Not just normal martial artists, but even Shun Luoli, who was naturally sensitive to soul remembrance, and Zhang Zifen, who had the golden pupil, couldn't notice Tang Ao using Heavenly Extreme pupil to observe them. After watching for a while, Tang Ao withdrew his gaze. Although Tang Ao was a bit interested in the golden pupil, Tang Ao's most important task right now was to concoct the supreme grade-raising essence pill. In Shinnong Emperor's pill concoction notes, the 100-flower fruit could only be purified to 96% purity. However, Tang Ao had already purified it to 98% purity. Moreover, it was faintly approaching 99% purity. 9 was the extreme of numbers, and Similarly, the extreme of many things was also 9. On the path of pill concoction, the extreme purification of medicinal liquid essence was 99%. There weren't many pill masters who could purify medicinal liquid essence to the extreme, and they were extremely rare existences. Although Tang Ao alchemy's current level wasn't bad, when Tang Ao was concocting pills, he could only guarantee that the medicinal liquid essence would be purified to around 90%. Among the pill masters that Tang Ao knew, there were currently only 2 people who had to purify the medicinal liquid essence of spiritual herbs to 99% every time they concocted pills. The first was naturally Tang Ao's revered master, the Xinnong Emperor. The Xinnong Emperor could be considered as the founder of the Xianhuang world's alchemy Dao. His attainments in cultivating pills were profound. At the same time, the Xinnong Emperor had to purify the medicinal essences of the spirit herbs to 99% and above when cultivating pills. Although in the Xinnong Emperor's notes, the Xinnong Emperor recorded that the limit for a spirit pill master to refine the 100 flower fruit was 96%, this didn't mean that the Xinnong Emperor could only refine the medicinal essence of the 100 flower fruit to 96%. After all, the Xinnong Emperor had long surpassed the spirit pill master and was a Tier 9 immortal pill emperor. Right now, Tang Ao wasn't very clear about the concept of a Tier 9 immortal pill emperor. Otherwise, Tang Ao would definitely be so shocked that he wouldn't be able to speak. Other than the Xinnong Emperor, there was also Enruosu, who taught Tang Ao alchemy. Although Enruosu's attainments in the alchemy Dao weren't as good as the Xinnong Emperor's, Enruosu had an introverted personality. She was too cold and lonely, so she treated pills as her friends. Therefore, Enruosu was very attentive every time she refined pills. She would do her best to refine the pills to the best. The process of refining pills was very long. Moreover, Tang Ao's team of 5 were relatively quiet when refining pills, so there wasn't much to look at. However, the crowd below the alchemy platform didn't get impatient. After all, the wait was worth it. At this moment, many people were whispering about the 5 pill masters on the alchemy platform. They were wondering who would be able to successfully refine the pills. Although Tang Ao had been very strong in the first 2 rounds of the competition and was in the limelight, the crowd of martial artists who came to watch the alchemy conference didn't think that Tang Ao would be able to successfully refine the pills. This was because the 4 pill masters competing with Tang Ao were not ordinary people. Among the remaining 4, Lin Fan and Tang Ao were newcomers, so they didn't need to be mentioned for the time being. However, other than Lin Fan and Tang Ao, the other 3 pill masters were famous for a long time. Chapter 1489. Thus, most of the warriors watching the alchemy conference believed that Zhui Yi's chances of success were higher than Tang Ao's. If Tang Ao hadn't refined the Heavy Yang pill in the previous round, no one would have thought that Tang Ao could refine a supreme grade vitality cultivation pill. Not far from Tang Ao and the others was the VIP section of the alchemy conference. A group of young men and women with extraordinary auras sat in the VIP section. They were the younger generation of the Flying Star Continent's major factions. Right now, in the middle of the crowd, a man and a woman were extremely eye-catching. The woman was as beautiful as a fairy from the moon. Her bright eyes seemed to contain a clear spring that flowed gently. Besides her angelic face, the woman's figure was equally graceful. As long as the male martial artists around her had their eyes on her, it would be very difficult for them to shift their gazes away. Shinluoli was naturally uncomfortable being stared at like this. However, they had eyes, so Shinluoli had nothing to say if they wanted to stare at her. Moreover, no matter where she went, she would be stared at like this. Thus, Shinluoli was a little numb. When Shinluoli turned her head, she realized that Zhang Zifen, who was beside her, was also looking at her. Shinluoli was a little speechless. "Young master, do you have anything else to say?" Shinluoli asked slightly angrily. Zhang Zifen shook his head. "I don't have anything else to say. However, if others can stare at Miss Shun, why can't I? After Zhang Zifen finished speaking, he glanced around in a rather exaggerated manner. Then, his gaze landed on Shun Luoli. However, Shun Luoli gritted her teeth angrily. She had heard of Zhang Zifen's shamelessness. Shun Luoli never thought that she would have to deal with such a shameless person. However, when she thought her bet with Zhang Zifen, Shun Luoli smiled and said, "Young master, don't regret our bet just now. If Alchemy Master Gong Yangjio wins, I will give you a bottle of heavy yang pills. If Alchemist Tang Ao wins, you'll have to accompany Alchemist Tang Ao for a day. I hope that Miss Shun won't regret it." As if worried about Shun Luoli's memory, Zhang Zifan repeated the bet between the two of them. Just now, Zhang Zifan had already seen that among the 5 alchemists on the alchemy platform, only Tang Ao had absolute confidence that he could refine the pill well. The rest of them seemed to be resigning themselves to fate. Zhang Zifen was very interested in Tang Ao. Although the Idler Mountain Villa also had amazing alchemists, Zhang Zifen would never complain about having more friends. Moreover, the alchemists in the Idler Mountain Villa were not weak. Otherwise, Zhang Zifan would not have been able to obtain the heavy yang pill. The reason why Zhang Zifen made the bet with Shun Luoli this time was because he wanted to befriend Tang Ao. Just now, when Zhang Zifen used his golden eyes to examine Tang Ao, he saw Tang Ao's incomparable confidence and a trace of attachment. Tang Ao seemed to be concerned about a beauty. However, because Tang Ao's willpower was too strong, even Zhang Zifen's spiritual eyes could not see more information. However, this information was enough for Zhang Zifen. Since Tang Ao liked beauties, then he would let Shun Luoli accompany Tang Ao for a day. Chapter 1490. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 5th day. On this day, a few impatient martial artists were preparing to leave when a resplendent golden pillar of light immediately shot up into the sky from the alchemy platform. It was completely different from Ning Huanhuan's and Wang Kuen's pale gold. This time, a resplendent golden pillar of light rose from the alchemy platform. After this pillar of light appeared, a thick pill fragrance immediately swept across the alchemy platform. Following that, the crowd saw Lin Fan's hand seals change, and the pill furnace in front of him opened. Immediately, 3 golden supreme great vitality cultivating pills flew out from the pill furnace and landed in the jade bottle that Lin Fan had prepared beforehand. Lin Fan poured out a pill from the jade bottle and placed it into the groove on the pill testing stone. The pill immediately floated up slowly and flew into the air. Immediately, the martial artists who had come to make things difficult for the audience saw 9 small squares appear on the golden pillar of light. At this moment, one of the squares was lit up with a resplendent gold color. Even though Tang Ao and the other 4 were all refining the supreme great vitality cultivating pills, most people thought that it was Zhui Yi and Tang Ao. Lin Fan, who had just made a name for himself, was the least favored. But now, the truth shocked everyone. Lin Fan, who was the least favored by everyone, was actually the first to refine the supreme great vitality cultivating pill. Although it was only a 1-star supreme great vitality cultivating pill, as long as it was a supreme great vitality cultivating pill, no matter what star rank it would still be an exceptionally precious treasure. After Lin Fan had refined the supreme great vitality cultivating pill, the crowd instantly erupted. Because of the appearance of the supreme great vitality cultivating pill at this moment, naturally, no martial artist would care whether Tang Ao and the other 3 were still refining pills. The reason why they had patiently waited here for so many days was to witness the birth of the supreme great vitality cultivating pill. Now that they saw Lin Fan successfully refining the supreme great vitality cultivating pill, many people felt satisfied. Xiao Zhen and the others were equally happy that Lin Fan was able to refine a top great vitality cultivating pill. However, Lin Fan, who was the least favored, had managed to concoct a supreme great essence cultivating pill. Then, the chances of Tang Ao and the others concocting a supreme grade essence cultivating pill were naturally higher. Hence, Xiao Zhan cleared his throat and said, "Congratulations to alchemist Lin Fan for concocting a supreme grade essence cultivating pill. However, everyone please remain calm. At this moment, there are still 4 alchemists concocting a supreme grade essence cultivating pill. I hope everyone will not disturb the alchemists concocting the pill." Xiao Zhan's words were spread out with thick yuan qi. Some of the martial artists with lower cultivation were immediately shaken by Xiao Zhan's words and did not dare to act rashly. The martial artists with slightly higher cultivation also felt their yuan qi surge and immediately shut their mouths tactfully. Xiao Zhan was right. At this moment, there were still 4 alchemists concocting pills on the alchemy platform. And now, even Lin Fan, who was the least favored, had succeeded. Then, the chances of the remaining 4 alchemists succeeding were naturally higher. Many of the martial artists here, watching the alchemy conference, had never seen the legendary supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. At this moment, the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill that Lin Fan had concocted was quietly floating in the pillar of light. Immediately, many people's soul remembrance instantly extended towards the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill within the pillar of light. This pillar of light was very mysterious. Everyone's soul remembrance could easily pass through the pillar of light and see the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill within the pillar of light. However, it would not be disturbed by other people's soul remembrance. Therefore, even some martial artists with extremely low cultivation could quietly admire the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. As for Lin Fan being the first to concoct the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill, Tang Ao was not surprised. If Tang Ao wanted to pursue speed, then Tang Ao would have concocted the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill 3 days ago. Chapter 1491. Lin Fan's alchemy talent was not good, but Lin Fan was definitely hardworking in alchemy. After his own alchemy was completed, Tang Ao was prepared to teach Shennong Emperor's alchemy skills to Lin Fan. Of course, Tang Ao also wanted to ask Lin Fan about the ancient alchemy skills. Tang Ao could feel that Shennong Emperor's alchemy skills were based on the ancient alchemy skills, modified according to Shennong Emperor's understanding of alchemy. Although the alchemy skills created by Shennong Emperor were very good, Tang Ao still wanted to have a suitable alchemy skill for himself. Tang Ao could imagine that Lin Fan was the first alchemist to refine the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill, but other than Tang Ao, no one really thought that Lin Fan could refine it. Especially the people on the VIP seats. Most of them were optimistic about Gang Jiao of the 9-Colored Deer Chamber of Commerce, because Lu Yuan, Lin Fan, Tang Ao, and Yi of the Alchemy Guild were all alchemists from the Hidden Dragon Caves. As for the martial artists on the VIP seats, most of them came from outside the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Gang Jiao was quite famous on the Flying Star continent, so these people basically knew him. Other than Gang Jiao, many people also knew Zhua Yi and Lu Yuan, because these two were also top-notch alchemists. As for Tang Ao and Lin Fan, they were really new faces. Tang Ao was slightly better. He performed well in the first 2 rounds of alchemy tests and took first place on both lists. So many people were more optimistic about Tang Ao. But what surprised these people was that the first alchemist to refine the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill was not the famous Gang Jiao of the Flying Star continent, nor was it the genius alchemist Zhua Yi of the Alchemy Guild, nor was it Tang Ao, who took first place twice in a row, but Lin Fan, whom everyone was the least optimistic about. On the VIP seats, Zhang Zifen fanned himself in boredom. Although Lin Fan successfully refined the supreme grade vitality cultivating pill, Zhang Zifen was not as excited as others. Unlike other martial artists, Zhang Zifan's Leisure Mountain Villa had alchemists who could refine supreme grade essence cultivating pills. Although the success rate wasn't high, Zhang Zifen was still able to see top-grade essence augmenting pills. Therefore, Zhang Zifen wasn't that curious about ordinary top-grade essence augmenting pills. The so-called ordinary supreme-grade vitality augmenting pills referred to supreme-grade vitality augmenting pills below the 6-star level. A peak-grade essence augmenting pill was very rare, but this was only relatively speaking. After all, many martial artists might not even see what a peak-grade essence augmenting pill looked like in their entire lives. However, to Zhang Zifan, the young master of the Golden Seeking Pavilion, the supreme-grade vitality cultivating pill was not that mysterious. Every month, Zhang Zifen could collect 3 supreme-grade essence cultivating pills from the Golden Seeking Pavilion. This was something that countless martial artists could not even imagine. But most of the time, the gap between people was just that huge. Many martial artists might not even see a supreme-grade essence augmenting pill in their entire lives. But Zhang Zifan could collect 3 from the Golden Seeking Pavilion every month. However, the supreme-grade essence augmenting pills that Zhang Zifan collected were just ordinary supreme-grade essence augmenting pills below the 6-star level. After all, in the Golden Seeking Pavilion, there was only one alchemist who could refine supreme-grade essence augmenting pills. Moreover, this alchemist limit was only 3-star supreme-grade essence augmenting pills. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.